Chapter 228. Elemental City. Thank you, marshals. Suku was very grateful. It's my duty, Hao Taijun said politely. Behind him were the two newly promoted marshals. The Elemental Merchant Alliance had always been close to the military. It was because of protecting Huaxia that the Elemental Merchant Alliance suffered a great loss. I didn't expect the Brahmin sect to be so ruthless. They sent 4 guardian kings and hundreds of sacred envoys. Yi Fan frowned and said, "It's not like the Brahmin sect at all. Manla was just one of the guardian kings. Is it worth it to send all the Brahmins to avenge him?" Hao Taijun said, "There might be a reason behind it." The 5 marshals of the military all knew about the death of the true martial emperor. Su Ku said worriedly, "The Brahmin sect lost another guardian king and dozens of sacred envoys in this battle. They won't let this go." Hao Taijun nodded and said, "I'll inform Martial Justice." "Thank you." Ancient India, Meenakshi Temple. Father. Fan barked his upper body like a strong calf. What's the result? Fan Tua was sitting and didn't even open his eyes. Fan Fei's face was gloomy. Huaxia defended the Elemental Merchant Alliance. One of the 4 kings died and 3 were injured. 37 of the sacred envoys were killed. Chief Wind Scripture. Good. Fan Tua slowly opened his eyes. A sharp light flashed in the dizzy old eyes, and he smiled coldly. "Immediately inform the 7 major countries in my name that the Elemental Merchant Alliance betrayed us and assassinated our Brahmin sect's consecrated Merchant Alliance's leader, Manla. Our sacred envoy went to Huaxia to seek justice, but the Elemental Merchant Alliance joined forces with the military to inflict heavy losses on our people. If you don't give me an answer in 10 days, I'll go to Huaxia to seek justice." "Yes, father." Fan Fei sneered. Elemental Merchant Alliance, high-level meeting. How ruthless. Su Ku gritted his teeth. They were prepared. Ding Yining's face was calm. "No matter what we do, the Elemental Merchant Alliance is at a disadvantage." Xia Rufeng frowned and said, "But why did the Brahmin sect do this? Based on the temperament of the Brahmins, I don't believe that they would do such a thing for the sake of venting their anger. There's a universe inside." Jiang Wufeng sighed. Everyone looked at each other, but there was nothing they could do. He knew that the Brahmin sect had a goal, but he just couldn't guess what it was. The Brahmins have always bullied the weak and feared the strong. This is unusual. He must have some sort of bargaining chip on him. Otherwise, how could he not fear the true martial emperor? Compared to the Elemental Business Alliance, the military was the one with the biggest headache. He was in a dilemma. This matter already involved the Polo sect leader. The true martial emperor should be the one to respond, but, do you think Polo sect leader is probing? Hao Taijun asked. Very likely. Yes, the timing is too coincidental. He's definitely up to no good. The 3 new marshals expressed their opinions. With a solemn expression, Zhou Jingyi said in a deep voice, "Tianzhu and Babylon are both from the same continent, and they have always been wary of our Huaxia. But now they suddenly provoked us, so there must be a reason behind it. In my opinion, Lord True Martial Emperor's death is most likely related to Paluo cult master. If that's the case, how should we deal with it?" Hao Taijun frowned. Without the true martial emperor, the entire Huaxia seemed to have lost its backbone. "We'll deal with it as we did before," Zhou Jingyi said solemnly. "If we lose in momentum, things will become very troublesome. Since Polo sect leader is probing, then they must be afraid. Don't panic, we'll deal with all changes by sticking to the status quo. As long as Polo sect leader doesn't personally enter Huaxia, then it'll be fine," Zhou Jingyi said. "What if he comes?" Hao Taijun said hesitantly. Zhou Jingyi clenched his fist. With killing intent in his eyes, he said, "Then he's one of the culprits who killed Lord True Martial Emperor." In the underground prison, Lin Feng touched the crystal chain with one hand across the holy crystal wall, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. The golden dragon's shadow flashed behind him. It was a pure white crystal. Although it could not be seen, it could be clearly felt through the crystal chain. The majestic energy of the holy crystal poured into his body, and he could absorb it without cultivating. As the golden dragon's shadow dimmed, Lin Feng's face turned pale. "Puh!" Lin Feng withdrew his hand. "Huff, huff!" He panted heavily. Closing his eyes, Lin Feng immediately began to cultivate, digesting and consolidating the powerful energy he had absorbed. Such powerful energy of the holy crystal. It's just the first crystal, and I can't withstand it for too long. Senior Xiangyu, on the other hand, is able to withstand 10 saint crystals alone. What level has his strength reached? Lin Feng was very curious. He couldn't judge Senior Xiangyu's strength before, but after using the holy crystal to cultivate, he knew that Senior Xiangyu was unfathomable. When he fought with Liu Bang for the world and killed himself, he was already a high-level titled expert. Now, it's hard to estimate, Lin Feng said to himself. He was even more worried about Senior Xiangyu's words. Was the 7th Great Extinction really about to happen? Would the human race perish? True Dragon Saint power. To compete with the energy of the Holy Crystal, he could only rely on the True Dragon Saint power. There was no cultivation method, but as he fought again and again, the True Dragon Saint power would gradually increase and increase. Of course, it would be better if he could enter the magma again to absorb the power of fire and strengthen the True Dragon Saint power, but it was very energy-consuming. He still had to rely on himself to cultivate. Moreover, his cultivation speed was not slow. The energy in the Holy Crystal was much purer and more powerful than the Thunderbolt Pearl. The energy of the first white Holy Crystal was more than 10 times that of the Thunderbolt Pearl. Absorbing it for 2 hours was equivalent to absorbing the Thunderbolt Pearl for a day. 3 days a cycle. After cultivating and absorbing it for 3 days, he would practice with the Overlord Xiangyu. The difference was, this time, he would be teaching him step by step. Remember the feeling of thunder. Every kind of thunder has a different form and power. The 9 purple thunder strikes was created from this. Overlord, it's not a deliberate performance. It's the change in your heart. It's the feeling when you hold the sword. Inside the holy crystal. Spring thunder explosion. Lin Feng attacked Xiangyu. The sword roared like spring thunder, full of explosive power. Lin Feng's eyes shone with arrogance, and he was naturally domineering. When the sword landed, all the power was released. Xiangyu's hand was like a sword, and he used the second sky-spinning thunder. The power was not strong, and he maintained the same strength as Lin Feng. They were fighting with skills. Sword intent, still lacking a little. Don't have any defense, don't have any worries. The essence of this sword is only one word. Explode. Boom. Boom. Explosiveness against explosiveness, attack against attack. After fighting with Lin Feng time and time again, Xiangyu was satisfied with this half-disciple. According to him, Lin Feng's fire talent was a mess, and his thunder talent was mediocre. But at least his understanding of the sword was barely passable. Chapter 230. The direction of the wind had changed. A conspiracy that had been planned for a long time was being carried out in secret. Ancient Tianzhu and ancient Babylon were mobilizing their troops, ready to make a move. Ancient Huaxiao was also on high alert. At this moment, a slight move in one part would affect the whole situation. In a world where spirit qi was first developed, there was never a lack of war. At the beginning of the war era there was a world war. At that time, ancient Huaxiao was opposed by ancient Tianzhu and ancient Babylon. In the same continent, the competition for resources was the most intense. The difference was that the true martial emperor, who had single-handedly shaken thousands of troops and saved ancient Huaxia, was now dead. Ancient Huaxiao was like a huge treasure trove. It looked like the door was tightly shut and the security was tight, but in reality, the door was no longer locked. Dragon Killing Island. Father, do we need to return to the military? Zikue asked. There's no need. The Dragon Killing Island master sneered. They want to use me as a shield? In their dreams. I don't like them. Zikue's voice was sharp as he rubbed his fingers. That day, they secretly colluded with the First Bank of Huaxia and plotted against me. The Dragon Killing Island master glanced at Zikue. You're still inexperienced. It's not your fault. This time, we'll take revenge. Zikue's eyes were filled with hatred. We'll take this opportunity to wipe out the Elemental Business Alliance. The Dragon Killing Island master nodded. It's indeed a great opportunity. While the true martial emperor is busy, we'll take down Elemental City and swallow the Elemental Business Alliance. The Dragon Killing Island master's eyes shone. We don't need the Yinshang family's charity. By then, I'll be able to obtain a stronger 9 dragons scripture and double the power of Dragon Killing Island. Zikue said coldly, even if ancient Huaxia wins this war, they'll definitely suffer a great loss. If that happens, who will be able to shake Dragon Killing Island in ancient Huaxia? The Dragon Killing Island master sneered. Don't overestimate ancient Huaxia. There have been so many internal conflicts these years that their strength has declined instead of increasing. If not for the true martial emperor, ancient Huaxia would have collapsed long ago. On the other hand, ancient Tianzhu and ancient Babylon are united. After dozens of years of development, their strength is not to be underestimated. Furthermore, Polo sect leader and the great shaman, one attacking and one supporting, one near and one far away. If that old fellow true martial emperor wants to win, it won't be easy. Saint Crystal Array. Lin Feng was cultivating diligently. 3 days passed. His strength increased rapidly, and the speed was so fast that it left others speechless. On the 18th day of the lunar month, the 5th strike, violent thunder shocking the 9 heavens, initial glimpse. On the 1st day of the month, Lin Feng was finally able to bear his first white saint crystal. On the 4th day of the month, raging thunder shocks the 9 heavens. Conqueror Xiang Yu taught him the 6th strike of the 9 purple lightning strikes, 5 shocking thunderstorm. At this moment, India and Babylon began to take action. Starting from a small probe, they entered ancient Huaxia in batches. Polo sect leader and great shaman were indeed old foxes. They could attack or retreat as they slowly infiltrated ancient Huaxia's defense line. They kept stepping on ancient Huaxia's bottom line and were very cautious. The memory of that battle was still fresh in his mind. The name of the true martial emperor resounded like thunder. He wasn't completely confident. The 2 ancient countries did not dare to launch an all-out attack. The military. The kingdom has launched an attack on the ancient Greek kingdom. Damn it, they must have planned this beforehand. Egypt and the European Union have already expressed their stance. The 2 countries are neutral and won't help each other. Bad news came one after another. The 5 marshals gathered together and the atmosphere was tense. No one expected the war to break out so quickly. Indeed, the war in the war era didn't require a long preparation time. After all, the main combatants were the Savage level experts, the Sea King level experts, and most importantly, the Legend level experts. No matter how powerful the elemental technology was, what was the use? The explosion of a nuclear bomb couldn't even kill a Savage level expert unless it hit the target directly. Killing ordinary people? That was just a waste of time. In the current era, war had completely changed from hot weapons to cold weapons. It could be summarized in a simple sentence. The strongest person would rule the world. We still can't contact the dragon-killing island lord. How Taijun gritted his teeth. It's useless. Zhou Jingyi shook his head. This person has always been deceitful and cunning. He won't share our trials and tribulations. If the true martial emperor doesn't appear, he won't appear. especially when he has to bear the heavy responsibility of facing Polo sect leader and great shaman alone. All the marshals gritted their teeth. If the legend-level experts were completely suppressed, there was no need to fight this war. Prepare the plan, elite inheritance. We can only rely on ourselves. Zhou Jingyi slammed the table and stood up. Protect China's land and fight them to the end. Even if we die. We must all die with a bang. The 5 marshals were furious. Even if it was a hopeless situation, even if there was no way out, they had to fight to the end. Because the blood of China flowed in their bodies. They would never surrender. 7th of the month. Although Lin Feng only cultivated once every 2 days, the increase in his strength and cultivation after absorbing the energy from the Saint Crystal was truly shocking. Especially with the help of the true Dragon Saint power, Lin Feng's innate soul was like a plane that soared into the clouds. In a short period of time, he had jumped from the 4th stage to the 5th stage. Boom! His spiritual senses were clear. Lin Feng took a deep breath as boundless spirit energy surged into his spiritual sea. In his spiritual sea, the bright ball of light seemed to have transformed and was 10 times bigger than the 4th stage. The formless and colorless spirit energy was emitted, and the golden dragon circling around the innate soul seemed to roar. The dragon's roar sounded, and bits of golden light condensed on the innate soul, making the originally bright ball of light even more magnificent. True Dragon Saint power, Lin Feng muttered. All this time, he had not been able to feel its existence. However, at this moment, there seemed to be a line connecting the innate soul and the golden dragon. Although the mysterious and powerful dragon was high and mighty, it made him feel unusually close. Spirit energy was constantly emitted from his spiritual sea, strengthening his body and changing the composition of his cells. The innate soul was spinning rapidly. A large amount of spirit energy was absorbed, and a portion of it passed through the golden light and was absorbed by the golden dragon. Can the true Dragon Saint power be strengthened? Lin Feng was curious. With the improvement of the innate soul, his body felt clearer. The control and absorption of spirit energy were all different. His mind was clear, and his comprehension had increased by a lot. He looked at his body, meridians, bones, and cells with his heart's eye. It was as if they had become 10 times more detailed. Now, the speed of my flying sword should not be any slower than Zikue. Lin Feng smiled. The improvement of the innate soul came naturally. The spirit energy was constantly absorbed, and a portion of it flowed into the depths of his mind. His mind, which was almost at its limit, finally reached that point with the increase of a small percentage. Good things come in pairs. Lin Feng was already prepared, and he focused his mind in an instant. He was finally going to break through the shackles. He was going to advance to the Sea King level. Chapter 231. Soul of the Earth, 5th stage. Talent Soul, 5th stage. Just these 2 breakthroughs alone had greatly improved his mind expanse. His cultivation speed here was comparable to the absorption of the lightning bead, not to mention the Saint Crystal's energy, which increased his cultivation speed by more than 10 times. Opportunities were hard to come by, so breaking through to the Sea King rank was just a matter of time. All that was left of the soul of the earth was the heroic spirit and boldness. Activating heroic soul would greatly increase a warrior's speed, agility. Activating the aura, strengthening the meridians, making the meridians wider and tougher, increasing the absorption of heaven and earth energy and spirit chi, increasing the speed of cultivation. However, with the awakening of the innate talent soul, 2 more great essences were added. One was Tianchong, the other was spiritual intelligence. Heaven Rush was like the core of the innate talent soul. Once Heaven Rush was activated, the innate talent soul would be further strengthened. It was equivalent to the fusion of the strength soul, the core, and the heroic soul. Spiritual intelligence was equivalent to the fusion of spirit essence and spirit aura. It strengthened the innate soul's ability to absorb spiritual energy and expanded the amount of spiritual energy stored. If you cultivate the innate soul, then open the heavenly charge. If you cultivate the soul of the earth, then you will be able to activate the heroic soul. The words of the Overlord Xiang Yu resounded like thunder. Lin Feng would never forget. In fact, he had been thinking about this for a long time. He had spent more than a month with the Overlord Xiang Yu. He was both a teacher and a friend. According to the Overlord Xiang Yu, since he had obtained the true Dragon Saint power by chance, he should have walked the path of a gifted soul. His future would be more promising and his strength would be stronger, but if you gain something, you have to give up something. Heroic soul. Lin Feng controlled the majestic spiritual energy and directly targeted the major acupoints in heroic soul's meridians. 3 flowers at one's prominence and 5 chis collecting. It had been passed down since ancient times and represented the highest level of strength for martial artists. The situation is dangerous. Rather than placing our chips on an unexplored path, why don't we increase the strength that I have confidence in? Lin Feng was more of a supporting role in the cultivation of the innate talent spirit. He had been cultivating for so long. He had been fighting with his saber and strength all this time. Now, he had to change his fighting style. Risks coexisted. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had succeeded in cultivating the purple thunder saber technique. This increased his chances of success. Lin Feng believed that in a short period of time, it was impossible for the innate soul to surpass the soul of the earth. Enhancement means combat power. If what Senior Xiang Yu said is true, the 7th Great Extinction will come within 3 years. This time, mankind will be completely wiped out. Lin Feng's heart sank. He deeply believed the words of the Overlord Xiang Yu. February 28. It was a very ordinary day, but it had a different meaning. On this day, it was destined to be a milestone. Not long after country launched a large-scale attack on ancient Greece, ancient India and ancient Babylon, who had repeatedly launched harassment, infiltration, and other means, finally tore off their hypocritical mask and wantonly launched a general attack on ancient Huaxia. It seems that Jinwu's injuries aren't light. A man in a priest's robe came over like the wind. There seemed to be an invisible force of wind swirling under his feet. He looked like a monk, yet not a monk. He looked like a Taoist, yet not a Taoist. He held a crown and scepter in his hand. It symbolized his strength and status. His hair and beard were white, and his face was weather-beaten. His eyes shone brightly. He was the high priest of the Babylonian kingdom. Even if he wasn't injured, this battle is imperative. Polo sect leader clasped his hands together. However, who could seriously injure Jinwu? The high priest's white eyebrows raised slightly. Other than the god of the Twin Trees Garden, there is no one else. It can't be him, Polo sect leader said indifferently. The two seem to be secretly competing for the title of the world's strongest, but in fact, they appreciate each other and are close friends. Others may not know, but with the high priest's ability, how could you not know? The high priest smiled noncommittally. Perhaps, just as the justice marshal said, he was injured in the Pacific Ocean. Polo sect leader said. If so, I'm afraid it's a monster beyond the level of annihilation. The high priest laughed. A level that even we humans can't surpass with these savage creatures. How can it be achieved? The two of them chatted calmly and leisurely. Unknowingly, they had already crossed the border of ancient Huaxia. In front of them was a large group of savage powerhouses led by Marshal Tai Jun dark electromagnetic cannons and laser beams. The group of several hundred savage powerhouses had already prepared for war. Polo lured Jinwu out. The high priest's eyes lit up. In an instant, the spiritual energy collapsed violently. A sandstorm blew up, and the entire ground shook violently. The crown scepter in his hand shone brightly. Good. Polo sect leader's skeletal body muscles suddenly bulged. With a ferocious expression, the image of Shiva appeared behind him. Although he was only one person, his aura completely surpassed Marshal Tai Jun's army. The war had begun. Ancient Huaxia's doomsday had arrived. Holy Crystal Array. Borrowing the power of the talent soul and the abundant spiritual energy to supplement it, the activation of the martial soul was extremely easy. The fourth martial soul, the meridians and acupoints were strengthened again and again. For an ordinary ancient martial artist, activating it was more than difficult. However, Lin Feng completed it in less than 2 hours. After that, it took him 12 hours to stabilize his breathing. Sea King level. He had truly stepped into the Sea King level. After the transformation, Lin Feng's strength. Even he wasn't sure how strong he was. However, there was one thing he was sure of. It was comparable to a legend level. Moreover, there was still a lot of room for improvement. Lin Feng slowly opened his eyes. In front of him was Senior Xiang Yu. A pair of tiger-like eyes were looking at him. There was less of a domineering aura and more of a different emotion. It was as if he was leaving, as if he was sad, and as if he was endlessly deep. He couldn't explain it clearly. Lin Feng. Xiang Yu suddenly opened his mouth. His voice was low. Yes, Senior. Lin Feng's expression became serious. However, this was the first time Senior Xiang Yu called his name in his memory. The atmosphere seemed to have frozen. I was extraordinary in my life. I was born with the lightning physique. When I was young, I was recognized as the master of the 9 heavens Thunderblade. I had an extraordinary encounter and destroyed the Qin kingdom. There was some sadness in Xiang Yu's eyes. He slowly said, "It was because of this that I was obstinate and self-opinionated. I was so ashamed that I couldn't face the elders of Jiangdong and committed suicide in the Wu River." Lin Feng listened. Naturally, he was aware of this history. However, now that he heard it from the tyrant, he felt a different kind of sadness. Indeed, when he was young, he soared to the sky. The tyrant, Xiang Yu, had established an unparalleled hegemony and had never suffered any setbacks. Such a proud and arrogant person, in the end, was defeated like a mountain. He, in fact, lost to himself. After that, I stole Xiang Wuhan's soul. My ambition did not diminish, but the appearance of that old bastard Huang Fuji made me suffer again. Even my spirit has been locked here for more than 2,000 years. Xiang Yu's voice was less angry and more helpless. Lin Feng sighed softly in his heart. His ambition was higher than the sky, but his life was thinner than paper. My life is coming to an end. I didn't want to meet you in my twilight years. It can be considered fate. Xiang Yu looked at Lin Feng. People weren't heartless. During this period of time, to Lin Feng, Xiang Yu had an indescribable feeling. He wasn't a stubborn stone and was a person who valued relationship. It was just that he was easily driven to a dead end and rarely opened his heart. Today, for our last reunion. Chapter 232. Lin Feng was slightly taken aback. He looked at Xiang Yu in confusion. Ha ha ha! Overlord Xiang Yu suddenly laughed out loud. His laughter was extremely arrogant, as if he was laughing at the heavens, laughing at his fate, but there was a sense of carefreeness. At this moment, he finally figured it out. Lin Feng! Xiang Yu roared. The air seemed to have solidified. Lin Feng's eyes widened as a shocking light broke through the sky. The powerful energy enveloped him overbearingly. The last 3 strikes of the 9 purple lightning strikes. I'll remember it. Lin Feng's heart shook. There was no superfluous words. It was exactly Xiang Yu's character. He did what he wanted to do. He was overbearing and arrogant, but he had the ability and strength to do so. The figure in the purple crystal armor in his mind could not be erased, and the endless domineering aura soared into the sky. The 7th strike, raging thunder tearing heaven and earth. Z. Boom! Lin Feng stood there in a daze. In his mind, the 3 moves were deeply imprinted, as if they were carved in the depths of his heart with iron and silver hooks. He would not forget it like before. The original 7 purple lightning strikes was already a supreme technique, a super heaven-class saber technique. However, Xiang Yu, the great conqueror, was a genius. After the 7th strike, he created the 8th and 9th strike, each strike stronger than the last. He was a true saber expert. Lin Feng, the overlord Xiang Yu suddenly roared. Bang! His head shook, and Lin Feng instantly woke up. Senior. I'm ready. As he spoke, Xiang Yu's eyes widened in anger, and the corners of his eyes cracked. A boundless, terrifying force burst out, and it split into 9, heading straight for the 9 Saint crystals where the star chain was. Lin Feng looked at Xiang Yu, and saw that his face was pale and ugly. The aura was greatly weakened, and the entire Saint crystal array roared, and the power of the Saint crystals fluctuated. It was no longer the ripples. It was a mess. Even the 10th Saint crystal under Senior Xiang Yu's body was completely overshadowed. Let's go! Xiang Yu roared. Endless power instantly blasted out. The entire Saint crystal array let out a tearing sound, and Lin Feng raised his head, only to see that the invisible Saint crystal barrier at the top of the array was rapidly expanding. Lin Feng's heart was filled with shock as he finally understood what was going on and stared at Xiang Yu. At this moment, his face was deathly pale. His aura was extremely weak. Don't come again. With a ferocious face, Xiang Yu unleashed all of his soul energy and focused it on one point to break the Saint crystal array. Lin Feng's body trembled as he stared at the overlord Xiang Yu, deeply imprinting his appearance in his mind. He bit his lips until they bled. Ah! Lin Feng shouted with all his might as he jumped up. He was not a wishy-washy person. If he continued to be wishy-washy, it would only waste Senior Xiang Yu's efforts. Like a rocket, Lin Feng shot out. All the restraining pressure vanished in an instant. Lin Feng's body relaxed, but his heart was squeezed to the point where he wished he was dead. He turned his head. The overlord Xiang Yu's figure dissipated like smoke. But he turned into ashes. Lin Feng was strangely suffocated. He could no longer hold back his tears. He punched out with both of his fists and roared. The huge rock shattered. His hoarse voice was filled with endless pain. Xin Yuan. Lin Feng's eyes were about to pop out. A light figure appeared in an instant. Lin Feng broke out of the Saint crystal array with tears falling down his face. Senior! I will definitely come back. Even if I have to spend my entire life, I will save you. Boom! Lin Feng broke out of the pile of rubble. Smoke and dust filled the air. He could see the light again, but Lin Feng did not have the slightest bit of joy or pleasure. He was very clear about what had just happened. The Saint crystal array. It was far beyond the level of a legend ranker. With his own strength, not to mention 2 or 3 years, he might not even be able to leave in 8 or 10 years. According to Senior Xiang Yu, the 7th Great Extinction would descend within 3 years. At that time, all of humanity would be destroyed. But Lin Feng knelt on the ground, letting his tears drip down. Bang! 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 Lin Feng kowtowed heavily. His hands clawed the ground as deep as iron claws. It was as if he was clawing at his heart at this moment. He was very clear about how much strength Senior Xiang Yu had used just now. Senior, although you have not acknowledged me as your disciple, but a day as a teacher, a lifetime as a teacher, I will remember this little bit of kindness. One day you and I will meet again. Bang! Stone fragments flew everywhere. Lin Feng stood up, his eyes firm and unyielding. He was not someone who gave up easily. There was nothing in the world that was difficult for a determined person. Don't come again. Xiang Yu's words rang clearly in his ears. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. I'm sorry, Senior. But forgive me for not being able to keep these words. Raising his head, Lin Feng looked into the distance. The days of more than a month entered his heart bit by bit. Only he knew whether it was cold or warm. When he saw the sun again, things were the same, but people were different. Whoosh! Stepping on the divine crane, Lin Feng sped away. The war had broken out. Ancient Tianzhu and ancient Babylon attacked from the south. Under the leadership of two legend rankers, they could be said to be unstoppable. The war had yet to break out on a large scale, but news that shocked the entire ancient Huaxia had already spread. The marshal of the Iron Army had been killed. On the internet, a video had exceeded 10 billion views in an instant. It was a withered bone monk in a monk's robe, Polo sect's leader. There was also a high priest of ancient Babylon in a white robe, looking at the camera with a smile that was not a smile. The marshal of the Iron Army was hung high in the air. There was not a single piece of flesh on his body that was intact. His flesh was badly mutilated. He was cut into pieces. The entire vast land was covered with corpses, blood, and broken corpses. Numerous corpses of the desolate mountain ranges experts floated in the air. The high priest's eyes flashed with madness as he slashed out again and again, using countless wind blades to torture the desolate mountain ranges experts. Occasionally, he would let out a strange cackle. But Polo sect's leader was even more terrifying than him. He commanded the wolf-like Polo sect's leader to do things that angered both humans and gods. The whole scene made people cry blood and tears. Boom! Boom! The entire ancient Huaxia exploded with shocking anger. Hundreds of soldiers, hundreds of savage barbarians, were wantonly toyed with by two legend rankers. It was like a piercing thorn in the heart of every Huaxia person, making them so angry that their eyes were about to burst. Even though everyone knew why they were doing this and why they were doing this, but how could this be tolerated? Kill these evil thieves! I beg you, quickly come out, guardian of Huaxia. We need you. True martial emperor. True martial emperor. True martial emperor. The shouts were like thunder. Every Huaxia person was looking forward to the arrival of their great hero, to come out and save them, to kill all these ambitious invaders one by one. In the streets and alleys, everyone was looking forward to it with tears in their eyes. Their blood was burning with anger. But who knew that their great hero, the pillar of ancient Huaxia, had died more than a month ago? He had already fallen. Chapter 233. Elemental City. Sizzle! Sizzle! The Titan-grade Skynet flashed. Particle laser beams and nuclear cannons were all set up. The defense could even defend against annihilation-level monsters. The alarm sounded. Coupled with the Titan-grade Skynet, the defense system was comparable to the military's. It was as stable as a rock. However, sizzle, sizzle, particle laser beams as thick as a fist shot out, but they could not hit the ghostly figure in front of them. Zikue danced. The power of the Sunflower Manual was enough to show the power of the Super Heaven-level Heart Sutra. Although the Super Brain had locked onto the target, Zikue had already sensed and dodged the particle laser beam the moment it was fired. It was harder than reaching the sky to hit him. Moreover, the strongest particle laser beam was only equivalent to the full force attack of a Sea King-level expert. Zikue, who had two defensive holy treasures, the Golden Moon Illusionary Wave Shield and the Black Tortoise Seal, was invincible. Even the most powerful nuclear cannons could not kill Zikue as long as they did not hit him directly. Needless to say, the dragon-killing Island Lord was in the center. The seventh level of the Book of the Chaos, Indigo Sea, was activated. The surroundings were like an ocean. The particle laser beam could not even break through his defense. As for the nuclear cannons, the dragon-killing Island Lord could dodge dozens of times in the instant they were fired. Against large monsters, high-tech weapons might be effective, but in a battle between warriors, it was useless. Especially the existence of the legend-level expert. They were the real warriors in the war. Nuclear weapons. In the sky, a red bolt of lightning flashed across. The Sea King-level fighter, Red Lightning. It was one of the top fighter jets in the world. In terms of speed, it was almost perfect. The price of the materials alone exceeded 1 billion gold coins. It was the best fighter jet in the Elemental Commerce Alliance. The person riding it was naturally the alliance leader with the highest position in the Elemental Commerce Alliance. Lin Feng. Mother and sister must be very worried after staying in the Holy Crystal Array for nearly 2 months. Lin Feng opened the crystal watch. He looked guilty. His sorrowful mood had just calmed down. No matter what, he still had to continue walking. As long as he could continue to become stronger, to the point where he could break through the Holy Crystal Array's defense. Then there would be hope to save the Overlord Xiang Yu. It was just that he did not know whether Senior Xiang Yu was dead or alive. But no matter what, even if there was only a glimmer of hope, he had to try. Lin Feng looked at the crystal watch with a surprised expression. Surprisingly, the call was not connected. It wasn't that his mother was on the phone, but that he had lost contact with her. It was similar to how he was affected by the magnetic field in the Saint Crystal Array and couldn't connect. However, how could there be no signal from his mother? Perhaps they are testing electromagnetic weapons? Lin Feng thought to himself. The possibility was very high. The magnetic field was affected so naturally it could not be connected. Without thinking too much, Lin Feng immediately dialed Ling Er's crystal watch. This time, the call was quickly connected. The image of the person that he had been yearning for day and night appeared on the screen. Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile, but it froze as if he had been petrified. Ling Er's flower-like face in front of him was covered in tears. Her panicked appearance made him feel as if his heart had been ruthlessly stabbed by a knife. What happened? Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. Big brother Lin. Xiaoling sobbed. Dragon-killing island is attacking us. Father and the others are at Elemental City. We're surrounded. Peng. Lin Feng was so angry that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. His body trembled and his ears buzzed. His mother and sister were both in Elemental City. Outside Elemental City. Surrender. Dressed in black armor, the dragon-killing island lord looked at everyone disdainfully. On the other side, Su Ku, Ding Yining, and the other business leaders were on the titanium-grade nets above snares below. The two business leaders, Yi Fan and Han Fei, were glaring at each other. Yi Fan had not recovered from his injuries, and Han Fei had just reached the Sea King level. Their combined strength was not even comparable to Zikue, let alone the dragon-killing island lord himself. It was a head-on battle. The Elemental Business Alliance had no hope of winning. Despicable! Yi Fan cursed. Aren't you afraid of offending the true martial emperor? The scar on Han Fei's left eye twitched. The dragon-killing island lord laughed loudly. Don't you know the current situation of ancient Huaxia? Ancient Tianzhu and ancient Babylon have come out in full force. The Polo sect master and the high priest tortured and killed the Iron Army Marshals group in order to provoke the true martial emperor. Now, I'm afraid the old man has no time to be distracted. When the country is in danger, not only will you stand by and do nothing, you will even stab us in the back. Dragon-killing island lord, you are not a citizen of Huaxia. Su Ku rebuked. The dragon-killing island lord was unmoved. I'm not that noble. Moreover, who said I'm a citizen of Huaxia? The dragon-killing island lord snorted in disdain. Don't talk to me about national righteousness. What benefits can the country give to a bunch of foolishly loyal people? Let me tell you, strength is everything. The dragon-killing island lord's hands were filled with spirit chi. In an instant, the indigo azure sea raged. Wave after wave of surging palm force blasted toward the titanium-grade Skynet. The Skynet's defense flickered violently as its energy was being depleted. Loyalty? That's just another word for a fool. Every man for himself or the devil takes the hindmost. The dragon-killing island lord glanced at the people behind the titanium-grade Skynet and sneered. A bunch of trapped turtles. Don't even think that the true martial emperor will save you. The titanium-grade Skynet's defense will still be a dead end when its energy is depleted. The titanium-grade Skynet's defense was indeed powerful. However, the energy consumption was also astronomical. In an instant, the Elemental Business Alliance members' expressions changed. They knew that once they lost the protection of the titanium-grade Skynet, the consequences would be dire. "Don't say that I didn't give you a chance." The dragon-killing island lord glanced at them coldly. "Surrender. Pledge your loyalty to me." With the power of the dragon-killing island and the Elemental Business Alliance's financial resources, what can't we achieve? The Lord of Dragon-Killing Island was as ambitious as a devil. If ancient Huaxia and India and Babylon were to fight, both sides would most likely suffer great losses. By then, we would be able to reap the benefits without doing anything. Take over ancient Huaxia. Pft. Be ****. The Elemental Business Alliance members were furious. In your dreams. The Elemental Business Alliance only has heroes who die in battle. We don't have cowards who surrender. The impassioned voices made everyone furious. The dragon-killing island lord was unmoved. Suddenly, he sneered. "Everyone, I've given you a chance. You didn't cherish it. Don't blame me for being ruthless." The dragon-killing island lord's eyes were filled with murderous intent. "When the city is breached, none of you can escape. Everyone in the city must die. So what if I'm the bad guy today? Massacre Elemental City." The dragon-killing island lord was like a bloodthirsty wolf. He walked toward Elemental City step by step. As he twisted his neck, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. His voice was bone-chilling. "I forgot to tell you that not everyone is as stupid as you and doesn't know how to cherish an opportunity." The dragon-killing island lord lifted his head and smiled sinisterly. In an instant, "Pa!" a huge tremor was heard. Whoosh! The entire Titan-grade Skynet gradually dimmed. The entire Elemental City was instantly exposed to the dragon-killing island lord. The strongest defense was shattered. A bunch of idiots. The dragon-killing island lord's eyes shone with a cold light. His palm smashed the city gate of Elemental City into pieces. Smoke and dust filled the air. Everyone was dumbstruck. To be continued. Chapter 234. Traitor. Suddenly, everyone felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Indigo Sea, rolling wave style. The Lord of Dragon-Killing Island took the lead and attacked. Powerful spiritual chi turned into surging waves. The group attack was not directed at the Elemental Merchant Alliance, but at the nuclear bombs and particle laser launchers at the city gate. It was so fast that no one could defend against it. In fact, some of the particle laser beams were still attacking. Suddenly, the energy triggered a series of explosions and flames overflowed into the sky. Elemental City was in chaos. The violent explosions caused the city walls to collapse. Screams of agony could be heard everywhere. "Kill!" Zikue's eyes were filled with killing intent. Like a red shooting star, he led the charge into Elemental City. Behind him, the experts of Dragon-Killing Island attacked like waves. Suku, Ding Yining, Yifan, and Han Fei were pale. They retreated into Elemental City and resisted with all their might. "Ha ha ha!" The Lord of Dragon-Killing Island laughed wildly. His palm energy did not stop attacking all the technological weapons. This day, he had been waiting for this day for a long time. From an unknown branch of the Z family of the Shang dynasty, despised by everyone, he was now one of the top 10 experts in the world and had established Dragon-Killing Island. He climbed up step by step. Once he took over the Elemental Merchant Alliance, Dragon-Killing Island's power would skyrocket. By then, no one would dare to underestimate him. Ancient Huaxia? Humph, it was none of his business whether they lived or died. Kill, kill, kill. On one side they had come prepared. On the other side they were defending passively. The difference in strength was too great. Zikue fought Yifan and Han Fei alone. His silver dove needle glinted coldly. In just a few moves, he had severely injured Han Fei. His strength was enough to be considered half a legend expert. His army was defeated like a landslide. The Lord of Dragon Killing Island had yet to make a move, but the Elemental Merchant Alliance was already on the verge of collapse. Ha ha! This girl is really something. Kill! The experts of Dragon Killing Island were ferocious. Like master, like dog. The experts of Dragon Killing Island were never good people. Especially those from Dongying. They were as crazy as wolves. Samurai swords and darts slaughtered the innocent residents of the outer city. Blood flowed like a river. It gathered into endless sorrow and hatred. The Dragon Killing Island Lord placed his hands behind his back and looked down at the group of small fries. In his eyes, they were merely ants. Killing them would only dirty his hands. Massacre Elemental City. There were cries and helpless cries for help. Along with the shrill laughter of the experts from the Dragon Killing Island, there was a cruel massacre. Every powerhouse in the Elemental Shopping Center watched this tragic scene with eyes that were about to pop out of their sockets. They tried their best but were unable to do anything. Despair continued to spread. The Dragon Killing Island was too powerful. The sky seemed to have been dyed blood red. Her tears had already dried up. Ha ha, ha. The Dragon Killing Island Lord's unbridled laughter was ear-piercing. At this very moment, screech. An explosive cry pierced the sky. Suddenly, a fierce white light flashed across the sky, bringing with it endless flames of fury. It was a ray of light. It was a streak of flame, but it was also a streak of lightning. His appearance tore through the heavens like a bolt of spring thunder. Clang! The sky shook violently. The entire elemental city seemed to have stopped at that moment. Their faces were filled with despair, and their eyes were filled with helplessness as they looked up into the sky. They looked at the figure that had appeared out of nowhere, and they saw that Azura-like face. Dense killing intent filled the air, bringing with it a domineering aura. Dragons spiraled behind him. He was like an unparalleled god of war, bringing with him a terrifying saber force of extreme fury. All of you must die. The voice. It sounded like it came from the depths of hell. 5 huge dragons rose into the sky, flashing with golden light. Endless domineering aura blasted out. Lin Feng's strike was like a thunderbolt. It was mixed with the power of thunder and flames. Endless fury transformed into a domineering aura. Lin Feng's saber seemed to be able to split the sky apart as it went straight for the Dragon-Killing Island Lord. You're courting death. The Dragon-Killing Island Lord looked grave as he gritted his teeth and shouted. At this moment, he felt as though he had returned to the battle at Qinling. The 9 Serenity Thunder Saber's attack was just as shocking. That face and the terrifying saber essence were so familiar. However, he had no time to think about it. Thunder rumbled and engulfed him completely. Indigo Sea, overflowing power. The Dragon-Killing Island Lord struck with all his might. However, he suddenly realized that the boundless saber in the sky was far beyond his imagination. Boom! The saber made him vomit blood. Fortunately, the Holy Treasure Black Armor had an amazing defense. However, after weakening the saber force, it still went straight into his heart and lungs. The Dragon-Killing Island Lord's expression changed drastically. He was a little dumbfounded. He had never heard of such a powerful opponent before. He retreated hastily. Spring thunderstorm! Lin Feng swallowed blood as if he had gone crazy. Seeing such a scene and how innocent people were being slaughtered, his heart was filled with hatred. At this moment, all his grief and anger turned into strength. He started a massacre. He would take revenge on both old and new grudges. Boom! Another saber strike. The Dragon-Killing Island Lord's internal organs were churning. He was completely suppressed by Lin Feng's aura. Super Heavy Titanium Region, 2nd level. Although Lin Feng was furious, he did not lose his mind. Gravel fell from the sky as boundless gravity extended. Lin Feng approached the Dragon-Killing Island Lord step by step like the Grim Reaper. Looking at the unfamiliar yet familiar face, the tragic scene from 19 years ago appeared in his mind. His father, he died in the hands of this scumbag. Zili! Lin Feng gritted his teeth and shouted the dragon-killing island lord's real name. The latter's face turned ghastly pale. Remember, my name is Lin Feng. I am Lin Mumu's second son who was killed by you 19 years ago. Today, I will take revenge with blood. The dragon-killing island lord was shocked. At this moment, he finally recognized the young man before him. He was the one who he had tried his best to kill and snatch the second volume of the Nine Dragons scripture. Lin Feng. No. How can this be? How can he be so powerful? The dragon-killing island lord's heart had weakened before the battle even started. He staggered backward with a horrified expression. He had been so close to obtaining the Elemental Merchant Alliance. Unexpectedly, a grim reaper had appeared out of nowhere. You. The dragon-killing island lord's voice trembled. Go ask the king of hell. A golden dragon flashed behind Lin Feng. At this moment, all explanations were unnecessary. Spiritual energy whizzed out and the negative pressure in the super-heavy titanium region increased. The tiger-roaring saber in his hand buzzed. The spiritual chi gathered completely. Lin Feng shouted. His saber essence was unprecedentedly strong. The power of fire and thunder intertwined as the saber energy tore through the sky. The fifth move, violent thunder shocking the sky. Lin Feng's killing intent exploded. Boom, boom, boom. Violent thunder roared. Saber after saber, each saber was more powerful than the previous one. Lin Feng struck 9 times in one breath. Together with the super-heavy titanium region, he had completely suppressed the dragon-killing island lord. The terrifying saber energy exploded. The dragon-killing island lord had gone crazy. Die! Lin Feng's 9th slash landed with a loud roar. Bam! The dragon-killing island lord screamed as he was smashed into pieces. Even the holy treasure armor on his body was destroyed by the violent saber energy. Elemental City was dead silent. Chapter 235. The Lord of Dragon-Killing Island was dead. A super expert ranked 10th in the world was hacked to death just like that. It was an unbelievable scene. A legend expert. There were only 10 of them in the world. They were the invincible nuclear bombs of the war martial era. Each of them was the wealth and treasure of a country. They could survive even in the most dangerous sea regions. But now one of them was dead. The previously arrogant and ambitious lord of the dragon-killing island had died without even leaving behind a corpse. Alliance leader. It's Alliance leader Lin Shang. That's great. We're saved. They cried tears of joy. It was the dawn in the darkness, the light of dawn in despair. Lin Feng's appearance brought a sense of security and hope to the old, weak, women, and children in Elemental City. The experts of the Elemental Commerce Alliance, who would rather die than live in dishonor, instantly felt a boost in their morale. A power that came out of nowhere surged with fighting spirit. On the other hand, the people on Dragon Slaughter Island were in a state of panic, especially the experts from Dongying. Their faces were ghastly as they fled in panic. But, thunderous winter thunder! Lin Feng's saber made a deafening sound. The stronger one was, the more one could feel the domineering saber energy in the saber will. Thunder hell! Lin Feng activated slaughter mode. The raging flames of anger would not be extinguished. Blood flowed like a river. The entire elemental city was filled with the smell of blood. After killing the last dragon-killing island expert who tried to escape, Lin Feng finally calmed down. His mother and sister were undoubtedly lucky. They were protected by the 2 guards led by Anfun and Anqi. They were even arranged to enter the inner city and were unharmed. But what about the others? Those who died were all innocent people. But they were brutally slaughtered. They even took pleasure in it. Dragon-killing island. Lin Feng clenched his fists so tightly that his veins popped. The power of flames seeped out. There was an invisible shield around his body. The golden light and the flickering shadow of a dragon made it impossible for anyone to get close. Deterrence. Lin Feng not only deterred Dragon Killing Island, but also everyone in Elemental Commerce Alliance. He had single-handedly turned the situation around and killed the Lord of Dragon Killing Island, who was ranked 10th in the world. How powerful was Lin Feng now? Suku, Ding Yining and the others looked at Lin Feng as if they were looking at a monster. He was familiar yet unfamiliar. At this moment, I've finally caught the traitor. Han Fei flew over on his flying sword. His body was covered in blood and his face was pale. He was on the verge of collapsing. He was carrying an unconscious figure in his hand. It was the Merchant Alliance's leader, Gu Demo. He and Yan Qing were in charge of Elemental City's defense system. Bang! Han Fei was panting. He threw Demo to the ground. Lin Feng's Demo. Gu Demo, who had woken up from the pain, grimaced in pain. When he opened his eyes, he saw the furious faces around him. At this moment, his heart was filled with regret. If only he had known this would happen. Why would he do something so stupid? Gu Demo let out a long sigh. His gaze finally landed on Lin Feng as he swallowed his saliva. His face was full of fear. Everyone, please listen to my explanation. Gu Demo gritted his teeth and said, "This." His face was red. His face was as red as a pig's liver. Gu Demo felt an amazing binding force wrap around him. In front of him was a golden dragon roaring. There was no one else around. Only the young man with a frosty face and the sword in his hand was burning. Chi. Blood spurted out. All the Shang Alliance leaders and Alliance lords looked at Lin Feng. He can't atone for his crimes even if he dies 100 times, Lin Feng said in a deep voice, full of murderous intent. Inner City. Mom, sister. Lin Feng was finally relieved. He was happy to see his mother and sister safe and sound. Lin Feng looked at Anfun and Anqi and said gratefully, "Thank you." "This is our duty, sir," Anfun said respectfully. Anqi's eyes widened. She asked softly, "Sir, did you really kill the Lord of Dragon Killing Island?" Hearing this, Ji Ruhua's beautiful eyes brightened. Lin Feng nodded. His movement was very light, but it shocked everyone. Angie's milky white face flushed red, and her beautiful eyes were filled with worship. Anfun's body trembled, and his chest heaved up and down. When they heard it before, they found it hard to believe, but now Lin Feng had personally admitted it. This was a legend-level expert. In the eyes of a savage-level expert, he was a godlike existence. Feng Ji Ruhua murmured. She could not stop her tears from falling. Lin Feng gently hugged his mother. As a son, how could he not know his mother's pain? 19 years ago, his family went through a great change. His father died at the hands of the Lord of Dragon Killing Island. His mother was pregnant with him. Not only was she injured, but her baby was also affected. Afterward, she took him and his brother to live in seclusion. She had suffered for 19 years. His mother had endured for 19 years. "Mom, it's been hard on you," Lin Feng murmured. Lin Feng comforted his mother. She had suffered alone for too long. The greatest person in the world was his parent. "Mom, in the future, I will take care of the entire family. I will not let anyone bully us," Lin Feng said softly. His voice was not loud, but it was powerful. "After I settle the matters in Elemental City." Lin Feng stood up. His eyes were filled with killing intent. "I will kill my way to Dragon Killing Island, save my brother, and end this hatred." Right now, he already had enough strength. Ji Ruhua nodded. There were still traces of tears on her picturesque face. She was relieved and relieved. "By the way, Mom," Lin Feng frowned. "What happened? Why did Dragon Killing Island attack Elemental City?" The two giants had always been fighting in the dark. When had there ever been such a desperate fight to the death? This made Lin Feng puzzled. "Feng you don't know. Ancient Huaxia is now. Ji Ruhua's beautiful eyes flickered. She sighed softly. It's a terrible nightmare. Lin Feng's heart sank. Video projection. Lin Feng stared fixedly at the video that was going viral on the internet. When he saw the scene of a bloody hell and the viciousness of the Brahmin sect, boundless rage surged into his heart as his body trembled violently. His eyes were bloodshot as he gnashed his teeth in anger. These bastards! Lin Feng's face contorted in rage. Brother! Yu Er's face was filled with worry. Ji Ruhua looked over. She just watched quietly without saying a word. Boom! Lin Feng's killing intent was unleashed. Brother Yu! Yu Er's face was pale. There are some things that must be done. Lin Feng's voice was unquestionable. I am a Huaxia citizen. The blood of Huaxia flows in me. How can you just stand by and watch when your country is in trouble? The dragon-killing island can do that, but I can't. Go, son. Ji Ruhua smiled satisfactorily. Lin Feng nodded and looked at his mother and sister. He did not need to say anything else. He turned around and left. As a man, it was his duty to protect his country. It was not driven by interest or impulse. It was his responsibility. His passion was inextinguishable. Chapter 236. A beam of red light flashed across the sky. Whoosh! A flying sword pierced through the air. Standing on top of it was a young man in a red robe. His face was cold and gloomy. His vicious and venomous eyes shone with a cold light. At this moment, his body was trembling slightly. Too powerful. He had witnessed Lin Feng's power with his own eyes. How could Lin Feng become so powerful? Zikui's face was pale and he was terrified. When he fought with Lin Feng for the first time in Qinling Mountains, he was caught off guard. He might not be afraid of Lin Feng in a one-on-one fight. But now, after only being separated for a little more than a month, Lin Feng was already standing at a position that he could only look up to. Why? I've given up everything but I can't beat them. Zikui's face was distorted. He was more ruthless than anyone else. As the young master of Dragon Killing Island, he had all kinds of technique. But he chose the Sunflower Manual without hesitation. Either he didn't practice it or he would practice it to the best and become the most powerful one. He didn't hate Lin Feng at all for his father's death. Winner takes all. So what? What he truly hated was his lack of strength. He would fail again and again. First it was Li Jixing, then it was Lin Feng. Both of them were 2 years younger than him. In terms of family background, even Li Jixing was inferior to him, not to mention Lin Feng, who was a lowly commoner. Damn it. Ah. Zikui's nails dug into his flesh. Blood dripped down from his body. His eyes were filled with blood-red light, and they were filled with ruthlessness and determination. I want to challenge the sacred remains. I want to stand at the top of the world. I want to be stronger than everyone else. If I don't succeed, I'll die trying. Zikui had a strong will. In terms of intelligence, he was much stronger than his father. His spirit of talent was close to stage 6, and he was only 21 years old. In the history of ancient Huaxia, Zikui was at the top of the pyramid. Compared to the spirit of earth, spirit of talent was rarer and harder to cultivate. The 7 sacred sites of the world. China's Bermuda Triangle, Greece's Olympia Temple, the European Union's Goddess Artemis Temple, and the Egyptian pyramids. These places are all heavily guarded, and there are even legend rankers overseeing them. Zikui's eyes were bright and persistent. His innate skill spirit was nearing the 6th stage. He was much smarter than ordinary martial artists. The Great Wall of China has always been a mystery. Furthermore, China is currently in a state of chaos. It is not a good choice. What's left is the Shiva temple in India and the Hanging Garden in Babylon. Zikui didn't miss anything. Coincidentally, Polo sect leader and the high priest are both in Huaxia. This is a rare opportunity. In terms of strength, Zikue had absolute confidence. He had never been afraid of anyone below the legend rank. Among the Sea King rank powerhouses, he was one of the strongest. Humph! Zikue's eyes almost popped out of their socket. Cultivating in seclusion and tempering yourself in the sea. If I cultivate step by step, I'm afraid I'll have to be below the two of them for the rest of my life. I can't accept this. Whoosh! The flying sword changed direction. Zikue made her decision. Instead of heading west, she headed northwest. Qinhuang region. The armies of India and Babylon marched in. They took the capital. The journey was too long. Furthermore, the capital had the strongest defense in Huaxia. The defense system was ineffective against legend rank powerhouses, but against savage rank powerhouses, it was still a threat. From the perspective of the two ancient countries, they weren't willing to pay such a heavy price. Their goal was clear: to lure the true martial emperor. As long as they could kill the only legend rank powerhouse in ancient Huaxia, the rest of the Sea King rank powerhouses would slowly nibble away. Finally, they would swallow ancient Huaxia bit by bit. It was despicable and shameless. However, war was like this. Everything was used. The winner was king and the loser was in the wrong. Polo, that true martial old man isn't dead, right? The high priest sneered. Polo's sect leader's eyes turned cold. With his strength, who can kill him? I'm afraid he's seriously injured. Ha ha! The high priest stroked his beard and laughed. Indeed, the heavens are helping us. Polo's sect leader laughed coldly. With true martial's character, how could he tolerate the people of Huaxia being humiliated? He must be suppressing his injuries and preparing to fight us to the death. Polo's sect leader released his earth energy. An image of Shiva appeared behind him and waved fiercely. Boom! 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 The magnificent buildings in the city were instantly turned into ruins. Once we kill Jinwu and annex Huaxia. The high priest's eyes shone brightly. You and I will rule Asia and destroy the ancient kingdom of Egypt. We will possess the 4 great sacred sites. Half of the world's territory will fall into our hands. The high priestess had long grown impatient with the days of being suppressed by others. He was a legend rank powerhouse, one of the 7 ancient countries. Why did he have to listen to others? 8 twin tornadoes. The high priest laughed arrogantly. Hidden under his weather-beaten face was a desolate and twisted expression. His patience had reached its limit. 2 gigantic twin-like tornadoes rose up in a frenzy and swept through the entire city in an instant. Save me! No, no! Mother! This was a true calamity-grade destruction. Wherever the tornadoes passed, they didn't blow away the buildings or magnetic hover cars. Instead, they directly tore them apart. It was a tragic sight. The thick smell of blood and all sorts of miserable cries sounded in the high priest's ears. The wind blew his robe, and his chest could be vaguely seen. A mark like the wind. The red lightning. It was like a bolt of lightning. Only Lin Feng and Xia Rufeng were in the cabin. According to Xia Rufeng, he had the duty to watch Lin Feng and make sure he didn't do anything rash. Lin Feng was also helpless. Yi Fan and Han Fei also wanted to come with him, but they were severely injured. Su Ku and the others had to take care of the aftermath. Only Xia Rufeng was in charge of protecting the crew and wasn't injured. Plus, he was Ling Er's father. Lin Feng couldn't persuade him. Besides, Lin Feng also needed a captain to control the red lightning. Hua Lin Feng sat down cross-legged. The battle at Elemental City consumed a lot of energy, especially the battle with the dragon-killing Island Lord. Although it seemed easy, he had the advantage of momentum. He suppressed the dragon-killing Island Lord and used his strength to attack the enemy's weakness. The dragon-killing Island Lord was killed before he could even use 80% of his strength. Lin Feng's golden dragon flashed behind him. His spiritual power recovered quickly. The recovery speed of spiritual power was much slower than that of spiritual power. Although they were both at the 5th stage, the difference was obvious. The 5th stage of the 9 dragons scripture is still at the middle stage of the heaven rank. The true dragon saint power will be strengthened by 1.5 times. The strength will be increased from 45 times to 110 times. Lin Feng carefully controlled his spiritual power and condensed it into the soul of the earth. But if I reach the 6th stage of the 9 dragons scripture, the base will be 300 times stronger than the heaven rank. The higher the base, the better the strengthening effect of the true dragon saint power. After this battle, I will immediately cultivate the 6th stage of the 9 dragons scripture. Lin Feng knew how to quickly increase his strength. His soul of the earth was already at the 5th stage and met the requirement. At this moment we will reach the Qin Emperor's domain in 5 minutes. Uncle Xia's voice came into his ears. Lin Feng pursed his lips. Whoosh! He took out an earth treasure spiritual fruit and swallowed it. Lin Feng accelerated his absorption of spiritual energy. Chapter 238. Outside the Qin Emperor region. The experts of ancient Huaxiao were dumbfounded. What kind of strength was this? Fighting against 2 legend rankers and tens of thousands of troops from 2 ancient countries alone, not only did he not fall into a disadvantage, he even took the initiative and killed the enemy. The power of his blade was not inferior to that of the High Priest's tornado. One move could kill at least hundreds of experts. Countless of the enemy were heavily injured, especially the impact on their morale. How terrifying was that? Purring! Zhou Jingyi stood up, his eyes filled with excitement. Activate the fighter jet immediately. Counterattack. Boom! A single stone caused 1,000 ripples. All the experts' eyes were filled with bloodlust. They were all motivated by Lin Feng's strength. This was a real man. Their blood boiled. Protecting the country was the duty of every Huaxia citizen. Even if they had to sacrifice their lives, it was worth it. If the country lived, the people lived. If the country died, the people would die. Xiao. In the distance, the fighter jet of the first bank of Huaxia appeared. Kill these bastards! We won't go back until we win. Everyone was united. The originally dense killing intent was now filled with endless battle intent. Their eyes were filled with light. They saw hope. Fight. There was only one chance. Although Lin Feng took the initiative and caught them off guard, the Polo sect leader and the High Priest were not to be trifled with. They had rich battle experience. One was ranked 6th in the world, while the other was ranked 7th. They were both experts among experts. In terms of strength, they were even stronger than the dragon-killing Island Lord. Lin Feng. 1 against 2. A battle between legend rankers. A battle that was rarely seen in 10 years started. Controlling the power of the wind, the High Priest retreated and supported the Polo sect leader's attack. The 2 legend rankers, one close and one far, complemented each other perfectly. The Shiva statue appeared behind the Polo sect leader, and the earth energy was so fierce that it hurt the bones. The external force was unleashed to the extreme. Every time the Polo sect leader attacked, it was as if the Shiva god was attacking. His body was not very strong, but there was a kind of divine power. This was another type of spiritual energy. Lin Feng blocked it with his saber and executed the second sky spinning thunder to its fullest. Defend. Without knowing the details of the enemy, attacking blindly would likely result in a tragic outcome. To Lin Feng, the great shaman was the true threat. The wind blades were bone-piercing and constantly harassed him. They were like sharp awls that constantly changed directions. It was difficult to see through the great shaman's attack. Compared to the great shaman, Zikue's use of spiritual power was like that of a child. A true legend ranker. Swoosh. Lin Feng went in the opposite direction, directly attacking the High Priest. However, the High Priest seemed to have anticipated this. Like the wind, he dodged in an instant. In terms of control over spiritual energy, Lin Feng was not even comparable to Zikue, let alone the High Priest. The stellar energy on his back pierced his bones. Lin Feng frowned slightly. Polo sect master did not budge. At this moment, the wind blade attacked again. Boom! Lin Feng clashed head-on with Polo sect leader. Gritting his teeth, Zhang Xian felt his blood boil. His face was slightly pale. The consumption of spiritual energy wasn't what he wanted. His opponent had the 6th stage of the soul of the earth, so he had the absolute advantage. Lin Feng borrowed the force to retreat. His heart was calm. He had no way out. Being surrounded by 2 legend rankers, he would soon exhaust his energy. Killing the great shaman was difficult. However, killing Polo sect leader, there was a 20 to 30% chance. Fight! Lin Feng's eyes shone coldly. Titanium-grade body, 1st tier. His body expanded. Lin Feng's strength instantly increased. Polo sect leader's eyes narrowed. Suddenly, his expression changed greatly. With a loud bang, rocks fell from the ground. The entire area seemed to be under the weight of Mount Tai. The weight was extremely terrifying. Layers of titanium-grade light condensed. Even the great shaman's expression changed greatly. Spiritual power. Lin Feng's sea of consciousness was abnormally clear. The roar of the golden dragon was like a dragon's roar. The effect of the super-heavy titanium domain increased by several levels. Without waiting for Polo sect leader to react, Lin Feng had already unleashed a series of thunderous attacks. Fast as lightning, the explosive power was shocking. It was the first attack. Spring thunderstorm. Boom! Polo sect leader was caught off guard. However, his body was as hard as steel. Pung! Lin Feng could feel the tyrannical rebounding force. An unyielding fighting spirit rose in his heart. Behind him, a blade pierced through the air. Lin Feng had already entered battle mode. With the support of his spiritual power, he instantly dodged. The blade light was like thunder. Titanium energy surged and condensed within it. Winter thunder thunderstorm. The sound reverberated, breaking one's eardrums. Polo sect leader's body trembled. His defense weakened slightly. Instantly, another thunderstorm came crashing down. Pung! Another spring thunderstorm. Fast as lightning. At this moment, before Lin Feng's body landed, his spiritual power dissipated. He fiercely turned around, sky spinning thunder. The spiraling energy blasted away the wind blades. However, it also turned towards Polo sect leader. The latter's expression turned ugly. The tyrannical external attack had just been disturbed by the sound technique. Then, it was blasted apart by a powerful attack. The wind blades entered again. Although the great shaman retracted them quickly, it was too late. Chi! Chi! Polo sect leader's eyes were filled with anger as he roared. Behind him, Shiva's figure suddenly enlarged. He was truly enraged. His thin and weak body instantly expanded. However, Lin Feng, who had seized this opportunity with great difficulty, would not let it go. The power of fire. The power of thunder. Violent thunder shocking the 9 heavens. Lin Feng's strength exploded. The Polo sect leader in front of him seemed to have become the incarnation of Shiva. Every punch hit flesh and every step was barbaric. Using strength to fight strength. Lin Feng had already thrown caution to the wind. This violent thunder shocking the 9 heavens was Xiang Yu's signature move. He did not care about the cost and turned all defense into offense. If he did not succeed, he would die trying. Pung! Pung! Lin Feng's back was hit by 2 wind blades. His Geno armor was broken. Even his sacred scale armor was torn apart. His flesh was a mess. However, this only aroused Lin Feng's endless killing intent. Since he could not retreat, there was no need to retreat. Let's see who would die faster. 5th/, 6th/, 7th/. In front of Lin Feng, there was only Polo sect leader, who was commanding the Polo sect disciples to rape and pillage. Only his ugly body was left. A legend rank expert? He was just a pile of disgusting maggots. Thinking about how he would be humiliated even after death, Lin Feng's hatred grew. His blade was overbearing, and his killing intent exploded. The pain made Lin Feng's blood boil. His entire body seemed to be burning. His killing intent could not be extinguished. He used all his strength to kill. Eighth slash. Boom. Polo sect leader spat out blood for the first time. Ninth slash. Pung. It broke through his defense and landed on Polo sect leader's body. Behind him, a strong wind arrow attacked, aiming for his heart. Lin Feng's true dragon holy power exploded, causing the wind arrow to deviate by an inch. Chi. It went straight into his body, causing blood to spurt out. Pung. Pung. The power of the wind exploded instantly. Lin Feng's organs were like a tornado, and his eyes were filled with anger. However, at this moment, he did not care about anything else. His killing intent was overbearing. Only the ugly Polo sect leader was left in front of him. The Tiger Roar Warblade let out a thunderous roar. Go to hell! 6/ Shocking 5 Mountains Thunderstorm. Lin Feng became one with his blade. His blade skills were perfect. With this slash, even the sky seemed to have quieted down. Boom! In an instant, thunder exploded. Chapter 240. A general success was built on thousands of bones. Lin Feng's name was like a dazzling star that had appeared, shining brightly. In just a few hours, he first killed the Dragon Murder Island Lord, then killed the Polo Sect Lord. 2 legend rankers, who had not fallen for a full 20 years, had fallen in an instant. But at the same time there were 2 more. Li Jixing, one of the twin stars of Huaxia, had finally crossed the boundary and become a legend ranker. After the fall of the true martial emperor, Li Jixing became the successor of Huaxia's military and the true martial dojo. They used all their resources to nurture him, and used 2 lightning pearls alone. Li Jixing was indeed a super genius of Huaxia. He broke through to the legend ranker at the age of 19. He was born from calamity. However, his brilliance was not as good as Lin Feng's. A kid from the commoner district had climbed his way up and become a truly important figure in ancient Huaxia. His reputation was comparable to the true martial emperor. Heroes were born in troubled times. The war at the beginning of the war era had established the true martial emperor's name. Today's war had established Lin Feng's name. 1 man and 1 blade, outside Sunset City, had fought against more than 10,000 experts from 2 ancient countries. He had become an immortal legend. The images captured by the satellite were transmitted to the entire ancient Huaxia and played 24 hours a day. The figure bathed in blood, like the reincarnation of an overlord, had left an indelible mark in the hearts of all ancient Huaxia people. He had saved ancient Huaxia with his own strength. A real man. Good job, kill all these bastards. A real man should be like this. The streets and alleys were filled with people, watching the figure on the super big screen over and over again. Their blood was burning, their hearts were moved, and everyone's eyes were filled with pride. They were Huaxia people. They had an unyielding spirit. Lin Feng! Lin Feng! Lin Feng! Their orderly shouts resounded through the sky. Ancient Huaxia had given birth to a new hero. That night, it was destined to be difficult to sleep. Ancient Greece. The Olympian temple of Zeus exuded a majestic aura, standing tall. One of the 7 sacred sites. This was a mysterious sacred site. The simple and unadorned stone pillars emitted a faint glow, as if the power of the heavens was enough for people to worship them. Beneath the temple of Zeus, the 12 golden palace stairs spiraled around, firmly guarding this sacred site for thousands of years. The 4th, Virgo Temple. The labyrinthine palace was a place for cultivation, an independent space. The 12 golden palaces. He had the strongest combat power in the world, with 9 Sea King class experts and 3 Legend class expert. Among them, the strongest was the Virgo Temple's expert, god of the Twin Trees Garden. The number 1 transcendent being in the world. Sharjah. He had a head of golden hair and an extremely handsome face. He was holy and radiant, perfect and flawless. He closed his eyes and cultivated in the garden of the twin sal trees, perfectly blending into the world. Wearing the Virgo gold saint robe, the golden light was dazzling. Lin Feng, brother Yochi. He must have a younger brother. Emnation. The boxing champion of Philadelphia lost? Leo Gold Saint? Isn't Iska's dead? A new Leo Gold Saint? It was a burly man who was at least 2 meters tall. He wore a pitch-black soft combat armor, and his muscles bulged like fists. He was invincible. Uranium balls appeared in his hands, and terrifying nuclear force condensed in his hands. With a bang, he put his hands together, and the uranium balls exploded with an ear-piercing sound. The whole house shook. Bang! A fist landed on the ground. The terrifying uranium power caused a nuclear explosion, and the ground cracked. Missiles bombarded. Bang! 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 Amidst the loud explosion and flames, a terrifying figure as tall as a mountain stepped out. His face was fierce and cold. Full of ambition, he roared wildly. He vented the pent-up frustration in his heart. He was the third strongest person in the world. The nuclear bomb commander. Ancient Huaxia. Lin Feng. Ancient Greece. Leo Gold Saint. Why is there only trash in M Nation? The nuclear bomb commander gritted his teeth. The meticulous attack that he had prepared for decades had failed again. Ancient Huaxia was still standing. As the main force, M Nation had the most complete cultivation of Geno warriors and 2 legend-class experts, second only to ancient Greece. However, I refuse to accept this. The nuclear bomb commander roared. Elemental City. After declining the invitation of Justice Marshal, Lin Feng returned to Elemental City after the war. This was his home. Elemental City had countless resources, the latest technology, and the artificial pyramid. For Lin Feng, the recovery speed of advanced technology was not as fast as cultivation. The Earth Soul and Spirit Chi were extremely effective in healing external injuries. Spirit Chi complemented the true dragon holy power, and they complemented each other. The artificial pyramid, the 5th level. It was also the lowest level. The air density was extremely thin, and the energy was 100 times more than that of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. The current Lin Feng could easily adapt. Compared to the Holy Crystal Array, the 5th level of the artificial pyramid was like the difference between a real gun and a toy gun. It quickly absorbed energy. Although the recovery was painful, the efficiency was very high. In less than an hour, Lin Feng's body had almost recovered. I let him escape. Lin Feng felt a little regretful. The high priest controlled the power of wind, and his talent spirit was at the 6th stage. Even if he was at his peak, it would be impossible for him to catch up to him. There will always be a chance to catch him. Lin Feng opened his eyes, a bright light flashing in them. In this war, millions of civilians were killed. Among them, the high priest was the one who killed the most. If he did not kill him, how could he face himself and the civilians who died? Lin Feng stood up and sighed. He clenched his fist. Then, he left the pyramid. S-level meeting. Su Ku, Ding Yining, Jiang Wufeng, and the other business leaders were gathered. Even Yi Fan and Han Fei, who were the most seriously injured, were present. Because this was the first S-level meeting initiated by Lin Feng. Lin Feng was now the pillar of support for the Elemental Business Alliance. Everyone respected and worshipped him. It had nothing to do with age or experience. It was only about strength. Leader Lin Shang, why did you gather us? Su Ku asked. He had unknowingly changed the way he addressed Lin Shang. Yes, I gathered all the savage-level experts and inspectors from all over the country. May I know why? Jiang Wufeng asked nervously. Could it be that the military wants India and Babylon to prepare for a second attack? Lin Feng shook his head. It was my personal idea to gather all the experts of the Elemental Business Alliance. Everyone was slightly stunned. With a sweep of his gaze, Lin Feng suddenly said, Because I believe that this is a heaven-sent opportunity. Instead of passively resisting, it is better to take the initiative. The death of Polo sect master has greatly damaged India's vitality. The situation is unstable. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. His voice was firm. There is no need to be merciful to the enemy. Take this opportunity to catch them off guard. Destroy India and seize the sacred site. Chapter 241. It was earth-shattering. Lin Feng's words shocked everyone. It was something they didn't even dare to think about, but when it came from Lin Feng's mouth, they felt an indescribable rush of excitement, and their blood surged. India was one of the 7 ancient countries of the war era. It owned the Shiva temple of the sacred relic, and had a close relationship with Babylon. Even ancient Huaxia had to be wary of such a giant. Lin Feng was so ambitious. But everyone present knew very well that, just as Lin Feng had said, this was an excellent opportunity. Moreover, they had Lin Feng, a super powerhouse at the level of a nuclear bomb. They looked at each other. Everyone's breathing quickened, and sweat seeped out of their foreheads. They were excited, nervous, and agitated, all kinds of emotions. On the contrary, Lin Feng was very calm. Destroying India was imperative. If the Elemental Merchant Alliance really objected, he would inform the military to act together. How could they miss such a good opportunity? If they were allowed to recover and form a line with Babylon, it would be even more difficult to get rid of them. In India, our Elemental Merchant Alliance has always been the economic ruler. As long as we wipe out the Brahmin sect, Kshatriya sect, and Baruch sect, and occupy the sacred relic, everything will fall into place. Lin Feng looked at everyone and smiled. As for other matters, everyone should be better than me. Lin Feng's killing intent appeared. I'm only in charge of one thing. Kill. Lin Feng had never been a merciful person. When people advanced a foot, he advanced 10 feet. Thinking of what those bastards in India did in ancient Huaxia, Lin Feng's eyes were bloodshot. They killed the innocent, tortured the experts, and even the female corpses. He wouldn't take revenge. How could he be at ease? In private, he could own a sacred relic, and the Elemental Merchant Alliance could control the lifeline of India. Their power would increase exponentially. A bird in the hand was better than 10 birds in the bush. Lin Feng knew this very well. Ancient Huaxia was, after all, a colossus. They were not swayed by personal will. Moreover, the Shang dynasty was like a crouching dragon. Although he had the support of the people now, no one knew what would happen in the future. The human heart was always the most unpredictable thing. But the Elemental Business Alliance was different. It was a power that he could truly control. I agree. I agree too. Kill these bastards. Hundreds responded to his call. Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement. Everyone knew that once they succeeded, they would be able to make a breakthrough. What would become of the Elemental Business Alliance? It was worth a gamble. Xia Rufeng looked at him worriedly and said softly, "But Lin Feng, your body." Lin Feng smiled. "Don't worry, Uncle Xia. I've already recovered 80%, Lin Feng said with a smile. Don't tell me you think that 80% of my strength is not enough to deal with them? Everyone laughed. 80% of Lin Feng's strength? It was more than enough to kill a legend ranker. Let's go. With Lin Feng as the leader and the savage-level experts as support, they fought against the martial saint. They went straight for India. Yi Fan and Han Fei were 2 battle-hungry people. They were still grinding their fists even though they were heavily injured. However, they were suppressed by Lin Feng. In the elemental city. In this battle, it didn't matter if the 2 of them were there or not. For the current Elemental Business Alliance, the Sea King-level experts were very important. Red Lightning. Xia Rufeng was still controlling the ship, and Lin Feng was still adjusting his breath. However, his state of mind was completely different. Xia Rufeng's battle intent was strong. He was eager to try. At this moment, he was less worried and more excited. He glanced at Lin Feng. Xia Rufeng couldn't help but smile. It was said that the father-in-law didn't like the son-in-law. At first he thought so too. But now, the more he looked at him, the more he liked him. What's wrong, Uncle Xia? Uncle Xia? Lin Feng opened his eyes. Nothing. Xia Rufeng laughed dryly. I'm just reminding you that we will enter the Indian border in 1 minute. Lin Feng nodded. His eyes flashed. He understood. Uncle Xia, don't leave my sight. Lin Feng reminded him. Okay. Xia Rufeng didn't dare to disagree. Lin Feng smiled. With Uncle Xia's strength, as long as he didn't encounter any Sea King level experts, he could protect himself. In just 1 minute, Lin Feng stopped adjusting. His body's injuries couldn't be healed in a short time. He just needed to recover his spiritual energy and power. Even if he encountered Babylon's rescue, he wasn't afraid. He was only afraid that the high priest wouldn't come. Lin Feng looked out the window. The scenery was very different. In the distance, he could vaguely see the Indian buildings and the Indian experts. Tragic scenes flashed in his mind. The people of Huaxiao were cruelly massacred. Lin Feng's killing intent gradually rose. At this moment, he empathized with what the true martial emperor had said. Those who offend Huaxiao will be killed no matter how far away they are. Ancient Babylon. The Tower of Babel stood as tall as ever, towering into the clouds. However, the thick smell of blood lingered. The strange thing was that the bodies of the experts killed by Zikue seemed to have disappeared into thin air. At a glance, more than 80% of them were gone. In the dark night, only the sound of a beast gnawing could be heard. It was creepy. Crack, crack. It was a humanoid monster gnawing on flesh and sucking blood. It was thin and long, about 3 meters tall. There were dark green stripes on its body. The flesh on its chest was wriggling like maggots, as if it was rotten. It looked like a human and a ghost. It was difficult to distinguish. It looked like a human, but it was extremely ugly, like a ferocious ghost. On its body, it wore a broken vest. The humanoid monster's eyes were like the lights in the dark night. I can't believe that I, the sickle demon venerable, would fall into such a situation. The humanoid monster's voice was like a poisonous snake's hiss. Its shriveled flesh seemed to be recovering as it ate. Its eyes flashed. It suddenly stopped moving and disappeared. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With the high priest as the leader, 4 Sea King-level experts followed behind. They stared at the outside of the Tower of Babel in horror. What's going on? The high priest roared angrily. The 4 Sea King-level experts were also stunned. They did not know what had happened. But in an instant, chi, 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 chi. The 4 hair-raising slashes were like the reaping of the souls of the King of Hell. The 4 Sea King-grade powerhouses widened their eyes in fear as fresh blood spurted out from their mouth. Their throats had been slashed by the Grim Reaper's scythe, and their heads were sent flying. Pung! The high priest's reaction was fast, but he was still seriously injured. His white beard was stained with blood. The high priest retreated in horror. In front of him was a ghost-like black shadow. Its slender arms were like giant size. It was as terrifying as hell in the dark night. Monster! The high priest's eyes were full of fear. Kiki! Crack, crack! A cold laughter, mixed with the sound of gnawing, made people tremble. In the dark night, the figure of Sickle Demon Venerable slowly disappeared. The afterimage of the moonlight behind him fell. The word demon could be vaguely seen. The ground was filled with horrifying broken bones. Sickle Demon Venerable was nowhere to be seen. Good comes after bad. I seem to smell his scent. Kiki. Chapter 242. Ancient Huaxia, Capital City. The Elemental Merchant Alliance has launched an attack, Lan Feipeng said. He was the 5th Marshal of the military, Marshal Feipeng, also known as Marshal Blue Dragon. This kid is so ambitious. Green Dragon Marshal Zimu said, a sharp light flashing in his eyes. Lin Feng's background was no longer a secret. The Ji family was naturally hostile to the Yinshang family. The two families had been at loggerheads for a long time. Zhou Jingyi said nothing. Among the 5 marshals of the military, Marshal Tai Jun had died on the battlefield, and Marshal Huang Long was seriously injured. There were only 3 marshals left in the military. It's normal to eat as much as you have the power. Lan Feiping smiled faintly, his murderous intent seeping out. Lin Feng has good foresight. Attacking ancient Tianzhu now is like beating a dog in the water. Even if he can't destroy ancient Tianzhu, he can at least weaken it greatly. It won't be able to rise again for decades. No, ancient Tianzhu will perish, Zhou Jingyi finally said. Everyone was shocked. Absolute combat power suppression and the Elemental Merchant Alliance's foundation in ancient Tianzhu for decades. After this battle, I'm afraid ancient Tianzhu will cease to exist. Zhou Jingyi's foresight was unique. With financial resources and combat power, the Elemental Merchant Alliance will soar to the sky. Zimu's expression changed. If so, aren't we raising a tiger? What are you talking about? Lan Feiping raised his eyebrows and stared at Zimu. Lin Feng is the hero of Huaxia. Without him, Huaxia would have been trampled by others. Blood would flow like rivers, and it would become a living hell. Zimu snorted. That's what he should do. With such power, he should have appeared long ago. Ancient Huaxia wouldn't have lost so many people. In my opinion, this kid is very cunning. He's focused on his own interests and used Huaxia's power to eliminate his enemies. You! Lan Feiping was furious. Suddenly. Shut up. Zhou Jingyi looked over and stared at Zimu. I don't want to hear any more words about Lin Feng. Otherwise, I'll punish you according to military law. Zimu's expression changed. He said, But Marshal, enough! Zhou Jingyi's voice was as loud as a bell. He slammed the table and stood up. Helping us is out of kindness, not helping us is out of duty. If Lin Feng is really ambitious, he can ignore the life and death of Huaxia and let us fight to the death with the 2 ancient countries. Wouldn't it be better to take India first and then return to Huaxia to clean up the mess? Zhou Jingyi's eyes widened in anger. He is not our puppet. Furthermore, his attack on Tianzhu will also benefit us greatly. Don't overestimate yourself. You've bitterly disappointed me. Zimu gritted his teeth, and his eyes suddenly burned. Marshal, why don't we follow the Elemental Commerce Alliance? Snatch the credit? Zhou Jingyi looked over and said coldly, If we leave, who will protect China? Moreover, India and Babylon formed a line, advancing and retreating together. Who in China could fight against the great shaman? You? Short-sighted. Zimu's face turned green and he could not speak. Not everyone is the lord of dragon-killing island. Warmth flashed through Zhou Jingyi's cold eyes. Don't have any doubts about Lin Feng. He will be the other guardian of ancient Huaxia after the true martial emperor. As long as he is around, ancient Huaxia will. It will never fall. In India, the flames of war were swirling. Thunderbolt of winter. Thunder and lightning intertwined, and a loud explosion sounded in the sky. Lin Feng made a move and the experts of India were instantly injured. With the 9 Serenity Thunderblade in hand, Lin Feng's combat strength had more than doubled. Even the great shaman was wary of him that day. Not to mention these small fries. They were not worth mentioning at all. The thunderbolt of winter roared, and a majestic aura accompanied the release of the super-heavy titanium domain. Lin Feng alone was equivalent to thousands of soldiers and horses. Thunderstorm of spring. Lin Feng rose again. The 9 Serenity Thunderblade in his hand coldly cut the lives of the Indian experts. With his spiritual power, Lin Feng could clearly sense the distribution of the opponent's combat strength. Take down the Sea King level experts first. This was a big threat to the Elemental Commerce Alliance. Take care of the Sea King level experts. Tianzhu no longer posed any threat. Boom, boom, boom. The blade in his hand fell, and the Indian experts were scared out of their wits. the Brahmin sect, the Kshatriya sect, and the Barishi sect. Lin Feng was numb from the killing, and the 9 Serenity Thunder Blade absorbed blood. Thunder and lightning raged. There was no need to activate the power of thunder. The 9 Serenity Thunder Blade itself was accompanied by thunder attacks, and the power of the 9 purple thunder strikes was greatly increased. After going around in circles, Xiang Yu's weapon finally fell on Lin Feng's body. Die! Lin Feng jumped up. There was no mercy in his eyes. Thunder hell! The power of one person was invincible. This was a legend-level expert, an existence on the level of a nuclear bomb in the war martial era. Go! Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. The 9 Serenity Thunder Blade activated the power of thunder. Following Lin Feng's shout, the army at the back pushed forward and roared excitedly. On the other hand, the experts of India were pale and ugly. The army was defeated like a landslide. Everyone knew what the outcome would be. The countdown to India's destruction began. Bloody rain, as if they were in hell. The experts of the Elemental Commerce Alliance all held their breath. Their hatred for India could be said to be extreme. Now that Lin Feng was leading, how could they miss such a great opportunity? The unstoppable attacks swept through Tianzhu. Everyone was delighted. The high priest didn't come. Lin Feng was a little disappointed. He thought that he would be able to lure the high priest out this time, but he had obviously overestimated him. The Battle of Sunset City had scared the high priest, and he had even given up on his allies. At the crucial moment, the ugliness of human nature was revealed. I should have known. The high priest and the Brahmin sect's leader are just using each other. Lin Feng thought. In the Battle of Sunset City, the high priest did not put in any effort. Otherwise, how could it be so easy for him to kill the Brahmin sect's leader? Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Unfortunately, a man's heart is not content. Lin Feng did not care. It was fine if he did not come. When the Elemental Commerce Alliance stabilized India, he would recover his strength. Then he would go to Babylon to find him. Shiva sect's holy temple. One of the 7 great holy sites, it was where the power of India rose after the war era. It was rumored that the Brahmin sect's leader had obtained the power of the holy temple to break through the shackles and become a legend-rank expert. Mysterious and majestic, standing tall, there were 8 Shiva statues of different shapes and expressions. They were blue, green, silver, and gold. Each statue represented an incarnation of God Shiva. The Shiva sect's holy temple was among the 8 Shiva statues. It emitted a faint holy light, making people feel reverence. Lin Feng had come. He had cultivated for 7 days and 7 nights. On one hand, he was recovering his body, on the other hand, he was preparing for emergencies. Only when India was completely stabilized and the Elemental Commerce Alliance had a grand plan did Lin Feng feel relieved. He came to the Shiva sect's holy temple. The 7 great holy sites were born in the ancient era. Their origins were unknown, but they could protect a country and resist a large-scale attack. How powerful! This is the Shiva sect's holy temple. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he stepped in. Chapter 243. Only Ocean King level elites, and they are from the Brahmin sect. Only then can I enter. Lin Feng placed the sacred scripture Meenakshi inside. Whoosh! Suddenly, the scripture shone brightly, and the door to the sacred remains slowly opened. The Shiva Shrine, the sacred scripture Pashupata Sutra and the sacred scripture Meenakshi were both obtained by killing the Brahmin sect leader. Looking ahead, it was like a giant wheel. 1 mountain, 1 world, 1 gate, 1 heaven. The 8 statues of Shiva, each of which was 100 meters tall, each had its own unique characteristic. Upon entering, one could feel the rich and pure holy power, which was different from the energy of the sacred crystal array underground. One was all-encompassing, as if it was made up of the entire world. The energy of the Shiva shrine was different. Each statue of Shiva had its own unique energy, as if it was a part of the world. the holy power of fire, holy power of water, and holy power of wind. There were a total of 8 types. Lin Feng took a deep breath. If it was before, he might not have understood. But after spending more than a month with Xiangyu, he knew what it was. Holy power of fire, holy power of wind, holy power of water. Lin Feng murmured. In his body, there was the power of fire, the power of thunder, and the true dragon holy power. The purity of the energy here was indeed worlds apart from that of the sacred crystals. But the pure holy qi energy was incredible. If I absorb it for a long time, I can condense it into holy qi. Lin Feng was surprised. Suddenly, he shook his head and sighed. Selfishness was a deadly word. It was such a rare and precious place for cultivation, but the Indian ancient country treasured it so much. Since ancient times, the Indian ancient country had a very strict hierarchy. They respected the Brahmin surname, and after the war era, the Brahmin religion was also the main religion. It was true that only Ocean King-level elites could enter. But if it was open to all elites in Tianzhu, it might be possible. Tianzhu ancient country would have a few more legend rankers. If legend elites appear in the Kshatriya sect and the Baruch sect, they will definitely threaten the Brahmin sect. Lin Feng knew what Brahmin sect leader was thinking. From his point of view, it was not wrong. Now, this place was under his control. He would not let the people of Dragon Killing Island cultivate here. 8 doors. There should be 8 holy scriptures. Lin Feng pondered. Anticipation rose in his heart. The 8 statues of Shiva should have 8 different abilities, or holy qi. There was no lightning energy in it, but it had the power of fire. I wonder how many holy scriptures the Merchant League has. Lin Feng had only fought for 2 hours in the war with India. After wiping out their sea kings and some of their high-level wildlanders, he had left them alone to recover his strength. I wonder how many holy scriptures the Merchant League has. If there is the holy qi of fire, then the holy scripture of Taoism. Lin Feng's heart raced. True dragon saint power. How strong was he? It could forcibly increase one's spiritual power by 10 times. Even the slightest touch could increase the power of the 9 dragons scripture by 1.5 times. If he could obtain a type of holy qi, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Lin Feng was looking forward to the flame holy qi. If he had stayed underground for 10 days or half a month, he might have been able to get the flame holy qi. This place, Lin Feng raised his head and looked ahead. It was the most traditional statue of Shiva in India. It had 3 eyes and 4 arms, and its face was majestic and handsome. Its skin was extremely light. It had the messy blue-black hair of an ascetic, and its head was decorated with the Ganges River and the crescent moon. A necklace of skulls hung around its neck. It was exactly the same as Shiva when Brahma Hierarch's strength erupted. Brahma Hierarch only has 2 scriptures. So the cultivation system recorded in these 2 scriptures is the mainstream of Brahma Hierarch's cultivation. Lin Feng walked forward. The closer he got, the stronger the pressure. It was the strong majesty of the statue of Shiva. The huge statue was 100 meters tall and made of unknown materials. It exuded a shocking majesty as if it was a living god. It made people have the urge to worship it. Humph! Lin Feng's eyes were fierce. He would not kneel to the god of Shiva of India. His body stood straight. He looked straight ahead. However, a terrifying power suddenly descended. As if it felt Lin Feng's disrespect and blasphemy, the 3rd eye on Shiva's forehead slowly opened. A crack appeared. Instantly, Lin Feng's expression changed. Bam! 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 The crazy heartbeat was like a drum. Shiva's eyes were mesmerizing. Lin Feng's forehead was covered in sweat. Spiritual power. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. After going through the training of the sacred crystal array, Lin Feng's willpower and resistance had increased a lot. The golden dragon behind him roared. With the true dragon saint power, Lin Feng exuded a strong and inviolable aura. Boom! The invisible force clashed. Lin Feng frowned. Both the true dragon saint power and spiritual power were being consumed. Lin Feng was not afraid. Instead, he was happy. He clenched his fists. It was as if he had returned to the sacred crystal array. The only difference was that he could not replenish his spiritual power and true dragon saint power. But at least, it was the best place to train. Hiss, as his strength was being consumed, Lin Feng's face turned pale. He stumbled and retreated. The golden dragon's shadow behind him gradually dimmed. Lin Feng was extremely fast. He quickly disappeared at the end of the giant wheel passage. But the door fell. The light of the Meenakshi scripture dimmed. Lin Feng took it out. Phew, with a light sigh, Lin Feng looked at the scripture in his hand. He was curious. He did not know what material the scripture was made of. It had a function similar to a key. Having consumed a lot of energy, Lin Feng did not force himself. He took back the scripture and left. Today, the Shiva sect Saint Temple was already his. There was no need to rush. Back at the Elemental Merchant Alliance. Brother Yi, how is the situation? Lin Feng smiled as he walked in. In comparison, Yi Fan's injuries were much lighter than Han Fei's. Plus, he liked to fight. The task of reclaiming the barren cow was naturally given to him. Smooth sailing. Yi Fan seemed a little gloomy. Looking at Yi Fan, Lin Feng sneered. Smooth sailing, isn't it good? It is good. Yi Fan sighed and looked at him helplessly. Fighting is too boring. Those warriors in India have no waist bones. They will be defeated in 2 days. Lin Feng smiled. Don't worry. Are you afraid that there won't be a battle? Beside us, we still have a neighbor. Yi Fan's eyes suddenly lit up. Brother Lin, you mean, let's heal first. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He quickly took out the Meenakshi scripture and placed it on the table. Has the Merchant Alliance found a scripture similar to this? Yi Fan picked up the scripture and looked at it. There is one. One? Lin Feng frowned. Thinking about it, Polo sect's leader had a high position in India, but he only had 2 scriptures. Obviously, it was not as he thought. After a long time, many scriptures were lost. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at Yi Fan. Brother Yi, keep an eye out for me. I understand. Yi Fan was a smart person. Lin Feng smiled. Suddenly, the crystal watch vibrated. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He looked at it. Justice Marshal? Lin Feng's eyes shone. Chapter 244. Brother Lin, are you leaving? Yi Fan asked. Lin Feng nodded and said, Yes, Marshal Justice has something important to discuss with me. Yi Fan frowned and asked, Is it about Tianzhu? I'm not sure. Lin Feng looked serious and said, It must be something important. If it was a small matter, they could discuss it in the projection dimension. He might not know about the other marshals, but Lin Feng knew Marshal Justice very well. He was an upright man and was the real Yiyuan marshal in China. I'm afraid that they'll take Tianzhu after we conquer it, Yi Fan mumbled. No. Lin Feng shook his head. Yi Fan was startled. Lin Feng smiled and said, Tianzhu is between Huaxia and Babylon. It's a natural barrier. Now that Huaxia has been weakened, they won't expand blindly. It's unwise to become enemies with us because of this. Besides, Lin Feng sighed and looked at Yi Fan. Even if we give Tianzhu to Huaxia, it's still a favor. Brother Yi, don't forget it. We're Chinese. Yi Fan couldn't help but blush. Lin Feng smiled and said, It's unlikely, but if the military is so short-sighted, let them be. A glint flashed across Lin Feng's eyes. His voice was sonorous and powerful as he turned to leave. As long as I am strong enough, a mere Tianzhu is nothing. Yi Fan nodded his head and couldn't help but sigh. Lin Feng was indeed going back. First, he had pressured Dragon Killing Island through the military. His brother should have some news. Second, although the Shiva temple was good, there was no passage of fire sacred chi in the 3 sacred books. Using the statue of Shiva to train the true dragon sacred power and spirit chi was useless at the moment. It wasn't very useful. The sacred books were extraordinary and they wouldn't be damaged. Tianzhu and the world were vast. There must be news about other sacred books. Lin Feng had asked Su Ku to spread the news. With the financial power of the Elemental Merchant Alliance, as long as the canon appeared, they would be able to return it to its rightful owner, no matter if they bought or traded it. But no matter what, this was not something that could be accomplished in a single day. There was no rush. Lin Feng himself also had many things to do. Lin Feng's strength had just crossed the Sea King rank, and there would be a huge room for improvement. Lin Feng was very clear about his own strength. He had the combat strength of an intermediate titled rank. The Dragon Slaughter Island Master was ranked last among the top 10 and was at the bottom of the legend rankers. It had taken some effort to kill him back then. The battle with the Polo sect leader and the Great Shaman seemed dangerous. In fact, the Great Shaman had not used his real power. Polo sect leader, strength is at the level of titled elementary. My current combat power is probably at the intermediate titled rank, but once I reach the Sea King rank, my combat power will increase. My martial soul has yet to be upgraded, and I have yet to comprehend the 6th layer of the 9 Dragons scripture. Furthermore, my control over the power of titanium has increased by another layer, and my titanium-grade body can be cultivated to the 2nd layer. My combat power should be able to reach the advanced titled rank soon. With the help of the 9 Serenities Thunder Blade, other than the god of the Double Tree Garden, the true martial emperor, and the nuclear bomb commander, I will not be afraid of any other experts. Lin Feng. He was full of confidence. If he was lucky enough to obtain the sacred scripture of the flame holy aura Beijing, the capital of Huaxia, the place where the Great Wall of the Sacred remains was also the center of the military base. Since the previous era, Beijing had been the leader of Huaxia. At the same time, it was also the place where the strongest family in Huaxia, the Yinshang family, resided. The true martial arts hall was where the strongest family in Huaxia gathered. However, the existence of this dragon head. Now it was overshadowed by one person. Qi. The red lightning landed. The tarmac landed, and a young man in martial attire stepped out. The surrounding streets were empty. The densely packed crowd was watching in all directions. It was quiet and peaceful. Everyone's eyes flashed with worship and tears as they welcomed the triumphant return of the hero. Lin Feng had turned the tide with his own strength. Fighting against 2 legend rankers, his heroic figure alone, the satellite projection video, had already spread throughout ancient Huaxia. Who didn't know? Who didn't know? Shua! 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 The soldiers stood upright like an unyielding pine tree, saluting from the bottom of their hearts. Lin Feng walked on the red carpet. He was also a little surprised by the Marshal of Justice's arrangement. Although he didn't want to be so high-profile, since he was here, he might as well make the best of it. His gaze swept across the crowd. Looking at the simple faces and excited expressions, Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Instantly, cheers erupted from the crowd. A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. Suddenly, the crowd erupted into thunderous shouts. Crazy shouts. Hero! Our great hero! Long live Lin Feng! There were hysterical shouts and tears of joy. Lin Feng's heart was filled with warmth. He was touched. He didn't expect that his first time in Beijing would be in such a situation. To himself, Lin Feng didn't feel that he had done anything amazing. He just did something that every hot-blooded man would do. Thank you, Lin Feng said with a smile. Military region, level base. This place had 2 levels of defense on par with Elemental City. It could even resist annihilation-grade monsters. It was the center of Beijing. The person who welcomed Lin Feng was Marshal Feipeng. Although he was a marshal, he admired Lin Feng very much. This time, he personally volunteered to take the mission. This way, Sir Lin. Lan Feipeng looked excited. Sir Lin? Lin Feng smiled. Marshal, don't flatter me. If you don't mind, you can call me little brother or brother Lin. Lin Feng had always been very respectful towards soldiers. They were very great. This. Lan Feiping's face turned red. Then I will accept. Brother Lin, you destroyed Tianzhu this time. It's really satisfying. With a burning gaze, Lan Feiping said regretfully, It's a pity that I have official business to attend to. I couldn't participate in that battle. Marshal, you're also a sentimental person, Lin Feng said with a smile. Lan Feiping clenched his fists, his fighting spirit burning. I've been unhappy with them for a long time. Brother Lin, you've helped us vent our anger. I did my best, Lin Feng said. Eliminate the root of the problem so that they won't bite back. Lan Feiping nodded vigorously. That's how it should be. The two looked at each other and laughed. Although they were from different camps, they had the same passion. They regretted not meeting sooner. He followed Lan Feiping all the way. The defense of the military region base was very careful. They had to pass through many checkpoints to reach their destination. Beat. Verification successful. The semi-oval titanium cobalt alloy door opened, and the triple particle laser wall disappeared. Brother Lin, the marshal is waiting for you inside, Lan Feiping said seriously. Lin Feng nodded and entered the room without saying anything else. Whoosh! The titanium cobalt alloy door closed instantly. The triple particle laser wall opened, and there were many mechanisms. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he stepped inside. It was dazzling, and there was a strong metallic aura. It felt very technologically advanced. This was a completely enclosed space. After passing through the light door, the front suddenly opened up. A hall the size of a football field appeared. There were high-tech instruments and screens everywhere. At the same time, there were two figures. Seeing his arrival, he smiled and stood up. Justice Marshal. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he glanced at the person beside him. He was wearing a luxurious brocade robe, and his unruly face was emitting a faint smile. Li Jixing. Chapter 245. Oh! Lin Feng was slightly surprised. He originally thought that it was just a one-on-one private conversation, but now it didn't seem to be the case. Hello. Lin Feng smiled and nodded as he greeted them. Good, good. Zhou Jingyi beamed and was in a good mood. Congratulations to Alliance leader Lin Shang for your victory. Lin Feng smiled. He knew what martial justice was referring to. After 3 days, I have to look at you in a different light. Li Jixing shook his head and clicked his tongue. After 3 months, you've changed. Looking over, Li Jixing couldn't help but smile. Back then, Brother Lin couldn't even defeat Yi Sun. Today, not to mention the small Yi family, even Tianzhu ancient country, will be buried in your hands. Brother Li, you're too kind. Lin Feng smiled. I have to thank you for showing mercy that day. Li Jixing laughed. Today, we're going to turn against each other. That's all in the past. Zhou Jingyi laughed heartily and said, Both of you are now the pillars of our country, both of you have a patriotic heart. In the future, both of you should work together to promote the prosperity of our country. Zhou Jingyi's eyes swept over the two people and said, What do you think? Of course. Lin Feng smiled. Huaxia men should be like Brother Lin. Li Jixing praised. The two looked at each other and smiled. Zhou Jingyi nodded in satisfaction. There was no need for too many words. The three of them had built a tacit understanding because they all had a home. Ancient Huaxia. Lin Feng admired martial justice. Not only was he iron-blooded and upright, but he also had a big heart and knew when to advance and retreat. He was like a big brother who could make others feel his care and concern. He came from the bottom of his heart and didn't care about the trifles. However, he had a good grasp of the general direction. Ancient Huaxia could rise in the war era and stand on the same footing as ancient Greece. It wasn't just because of the true martial emperor. Martial justice's contributions couldn't go unnoticed. All right, back to the topic, Zhou Jingyi said. It wasn't my idea to invite the two of you here. It was someone else. Lin Feng was slightly taken aback. His gaze swept across his surroundings. In this sealed space, there was no one else other than Li Jixing. Coincidentally, Li Jixing was also looking at him. It is the true martial emperor. Zhou Jingyi didn't keep them in suspense, but it made them suck in a breath of cold air. Especially Li Jixing, who was obviously stunned and blurted out, "Lord True Martial Emperor, didn't he already die?" "What?" Lin Feng wasn't scared just now, but this time, he was really stunned for a moment. Senior True Martial Emperor had fallen? No wonder. Lin Feng's heart tightened as he suddenly understood. 2 legend rankers were pressuring the border. Given Senior True Martial Emperor's personality, he definitely wouldn't sit by and do nothing about the massacre of Huaxia's citizens. However, he had never thought of this. After all, with the true martial emperor's strength, who could kill him? Yes. Zhou Jingyi's voice was heavy, and there was no hiding the sadness in his eyes. It is true that Lord True Martial Emperor has fallen. However, he left behind a video. It's in my custody. This matter won't be known to anyone else. Zhou Jingyi looked over. He said in a deep voice, Lord True Martial Emperor said that this video can only be viewed by Huaxia's experts who have broken through to legend rankers. I think he probably didn't expect. Our ancient Huaxia is quiet, but once it does, it will amaze the world. 2 legend rankers suddenly appeared, and both of them are only 19 years old. Their futures are limitless. Zhou Jingyi said with gratification, Lord True Martial Emperor's spirit in heaven must be protecting ancient Huaxia. Prosper. Saying this, Zhou Jingyi's eyes couldn't help but moisten. Even a man of steel had a soft side. Lin Feng also felt the same. Although Senior True Martial Emperor was from the Shang dynasty, his heart was as clear as a mirror, and he was loyal to the sun and moon. He used all his strength to support ancient Huaxia's backbone. Such a person was worthy of his respect. Lowering his head, Lin Feng closed his eyes and mourned in his heart. The death of the true martial emperor was a huge loss to ancient Huaxia. I've let you see a joke. Zhou Jingyi smiled. I won't say anything more. You can see for yourselves. Then, he turned on the screen. The lights in the enclosed space dimmed, and the screen in front of them lit up. Lin Feng raised his head. His eyes were bright as he looked forward. In a split second, the figure of a middle-aged man appeared. He was dressed in martial attire. His face was slightly haggard, but his determination was awe-inspiring. His eyes were pale and powerless, as if his life force had been exhausted. True martial emperor. A very ordinary middle-aged man, but he had an aura that made people respect him. When you see this video, it means that I'm already dead. True martial emperor's voice was magnetic and calm. There was no change in his emotions. In life, we can't escape from birth, old age, sickness, and death. It's destined that we can't win against the heavens. I'm not afraid of death. I'm only afraid that after I die, there will be no one who can support ancient Huaxia. Our ancient Huaxia has a long history, and our civilization is brilliant. Among the 7 great ancient countries, we've been coveted since the war era. Lin Feng sighed softly in his heart. True martial emperor was thinking about ancient Huaxia until his death. Take my true martial emperor's token. Inherit the true martial dojo, the son of the Shang dynasty, and take the position of the most powerful man in Huaxia. Please forgive my selfishness and replace me. Defend Huaxia for another 100 years. His voice was like thunder. It was like the sound of a bell, frightening people. Lin Feng stared at the face on the screen. His breath of life was extremely weak. He had spent his whole life planning for Huaxia. In the mind of the true martial emperor, ancient Huaxia was the only thing that mattered to him. The true martial arts dojo and the Shang dynasty were all secondary. Defend Huaxia for another 100 years. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Even if they had different beliefs and personalities, their hearts were the same. Li Jixing, who was next to him, also looked serious. Next, there's an extremely important message. It's about the Pacific Ocean, the head of the four great seas. True Martial Emperor's eyes kept flashing. That day, I received news that the Pacific Ocean was raging. An unprecedented disaster happened in the center of the ocean. The sea within 100 miles was dyed red. To solve my doubts, I entered the Pacific Ocean alone. True Martial Emperor recalled the scene. I didn't expect to meet an extremely terrifying monster. It was covered in scales and had antennae on its forehead. It lived in the ocean, but it was an ocean monster that I had never seen before. True Martial Emperor's voice was low. When I fought with it, I only felt the spirit energy in my body rapidly depleting. I was heavily injured in less than 3 moves. Even my holy treasure, the Tai Chi Taoist robe, was destroyed. I tried my best to escape, but my life force kept depleting. It's a devil. A monster that can devour life. Be careful. Don't go to the Pacific Ocean again. True Martial Emperor pursed his lips tightly. As if he thought of the horror of that monster, his eyes showed a bit of helplessness. If I'm not wrong, this monster's strength has exceeded the scope of our knowledge. It's not an annihilation-level monster, but a disaster-level monster. Chapter 246. An existence that surpassed the annihilation level. Not only Zhou Jingyi and Li Jixing, but Lin Feng was also shocked, but he quickly calmed down. The true Martial Emperor, what kind of strength was that? He had reached the high level of legend level a few decades ago. Even if the world's #1 god of Twin Trees Garden could defeat the true Martial Emperor, it was impossible to kill him. It could be said that the true Martial Emperor was almost invincible among the legend level. It was naturally impossible for the annihilation level monsters to kill him. But the existence of monsters that surpassed the annihilation level was different. Just like Senior Xiang Yu's strength. After witnessing the strength of Xiang Yu, Lin Feng's heart was the calmest. With Senior Xiang Yu's strength, the power to break the Holy Crystal Array was definitely beyond the legend level. If humans could achieve it, monsters could also achieve it. In terms of aptitude, humans were better than monsters. But in terms of quantity, monsters were 10 times or 100 times more than humans. Take the Pacific Ocean, the head of the 4 oceans, as an example. There were more than 100 of them. As for the human race, there were only 10 legend rankers up till now. The base number is large. The possibility of a breakthrough is high. Lin Feng thought. He didn't care. Compared to the 7th Great Extinction mentioned by Senior Xiang Yu, what was a monster that surpassed the annihilation level? According to Senior Xiang Yu, that was a group of meteorites that surpassed the 6th Great Extinction. It was a terrifying disaster that could completely destroy humans. It was even above the annihilation level. But the screen dimmed. The video was short and powerful, without any nonsense. It was like the true Martial Emperor's will. The lights in the hall lit up, but the 3 of them fell into silence. Although Zhou Jingyi had gotten the video early, he wouldn't peek. He wasn't surprised about the true Martial Emperor's inheritance. After all, the true Martial Emperor's keepsake was in his hands. Only the monster in the Pacific Ocean made him restless. It was a devil. A monster that could devour life. To be able to get such an evaluation from Senior True Martial Emperor, one would know that this monster was terrifying. It was definitely not ordinary. If they didn't handle it properly, this monster might appear from the ocean one day and launch an annihilation-level attack on humans. The annihilation-level meteorites could do it, the annihilation-level monsters. They could do it too. Sigh. Zhou Jingyi let out a long sigh. Before the first wave had subsided, another wave had arisen. But since the burden had fallen on his shoulders, he would not run away. Glancing at Lin Feng and the other man, Zhou Jingyi said, "I believe the 2 of you are well aware that the current situation is constantly changing. Ancient Huaxia needs someone to stand out and replace the true Martial Emperor to rule the country. Who is willing?" Zhou Jingyi was also a little hesitant, but he couldn't decide between the two. Lin Feng looked at Li Jisheng. Coincidentally, the latter was also looking at him. Their eyes met. Brother Lin has already proven his strength and character in the Battle of Setting Sun City. Li Jisheng laughed and said, "Him inheriting the true martial emperor's position is perfectly justified, and everybody is convinced by him. In terms of strength, I'm thousands of miles away from Brother Lin." Lin Feng frowned as two pairs of eyes looked over. "My identity is not suitable." Lin Feng shook his head. "The two of you should know the difference between the Ji family and the Z family. Even if I can let go of my hatred, it doesn't mean that the Z family is willing to let me lead them. China has just recovered from its wounds, and it can't afford to suffer from internal strife." Zhou Jingyi and Li Jisheng looked at each other. Lin Feng's identity was indeed not a big secret at the moment. "Moreover, my personality is different from the true martial emperors, and our ideals are even more different." Lin Feng smiled faintly. "Instead of letting me carry the burden of ancient Huaxia, it's better for me to be a hands-off manager in the Elemental Business Alliance and do whatever I want." Zhou Jingyi opened his mouth as if he had something to say. "Marshal, you don't have to persuade me anymore," Lin Feng directly rejected. "I'm willing to fulfill the true martial emperor's last wish and replace him to guard China for another 100 years. Lin Feng's expression was firm. "As long as I, Lin Feng, am still alive, I will do my best to protect China. But it doesn't mean that I have to walk the same path as the true martial emperor." It was quiet. Both of them were lost in thought. After a long time, "Okay, I respect Alliance leader Lin Shang's choice." Zhou Jingyi nodded. The way he addressed Li Jisheng meant that he had thought it through. Just as he looked at Li Jisheng, the latter waved his hand. "Marshal, you can't bear such a heavy burden. How can I, Li Jisheng, live in the future? I might as well change my name to Li Jiewang." Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. Li Jisheng's personality was indeed carefree and unrestrained. Zhou Jingyi had a helpless expression. "You sigh, what should I say? You can become the successor of the true martial emperor just by nodding your head and obtain all his wealth and treasures. You can lead the true martial arts dojo and the Yinshang family and reach the peak of China's power. Many experts can't wait for it." Li Jisheng shook his head. "A gentleman loves money and obtains it in the right way." Lin Feng smiled. "Martial justice, there's no need to worry. Actually, there's someone more suitable than the two of us to sit in this position." Zhou Jingyi's eyes lit up. "Who?" "Those involved can't see clearly." Li Jisheng smiled faintly. "Isn't it you, Martial Justice?" Lin Feng said. "In terms of experience, the overall situation, and prestige, no matter which aspect it is, you far surpass Brother Li and me. The reason why Senior True Martial Emperor did everything he could to tie the titled experts and Huaxia to the same boat with benefits and power. You should know this better than anyone else. Marshal, don't worry. We're not the same as the Lord of Dragon-Killing Island." Li Jisheng smiled. Zhou Jingyi was still hesitating. Lin Feng sighed softly and then said, "There are some things that the Marshal might not believe and think that I am just trying to scare you, but—" Lin Feng raised his head and said with a serious expression, "In 3 years, the 7th Great Extinction will arrive and the entire human race will be wiped out, just like how the 5th Great Extinction wiped out the dinosaurs. Compared to that, who will inherit the position of the true martial emperor is secondary." Lin Feng didn't hide anything. He told them the truth. By then, all mankind would be gone and ancient China would cease to exist. Zhou Jingyi and Li Jisheng were dumbfounded. They stared at Lin Feng and wanted to ask questions but couldn't say anything. "It's true. He won't lie to me." Lin Feng trusted Xiang Yu. "I've told you everything. It's up to you whether you believe me or not. This is also the reason why I can't inherit the position of the true martial emperor." Perhaps the chance was slim. But he still wanted to try. He had to find a way to survive the seventh mass extinction, even if he had to exhaust all his power. The atmosphere suddenly froze. After a long while, "Brother Lin, you really won't stop until you shock me to death." Li Jisheng sighed and shook his head. "Although it's hard to believe, my intuition tells me that you're telling the truth. Born in the face of calamity. It seems that I was born in the face of calamity." "I understand," Zhou Jingyi said firmly. "I know what to do in the face of calamity. There's no need to be so wishy-washy." Zhou Jingyi looked at Lin Feng with resolute eyes. "I'll inform the Academy of Science to follow up on this and list it as China's top secret. We'll try to find a solution as soon as possible." Lin Feng smiled and gave him a thumbs up. This was true trust. He believed every word of the other party without reservation. "Actually, there's something that Senior True Martial Emperor said that I don't agree with." Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. "I don't believe that everything is doomed. I believe in hard work, believe in miracles, believe in man will conquer the heavens." "Well said. That's right. Man will conquer the heavens." 3 fists collided. 3 pairs of blazing eyes met. At this moment they made a promise. Chapter 247. After that, Li Jisheng left. He left Lin Feng and Zhou Jingyi behind. They had something important to discuss. "Brother is not on Dragon Killing Island?" Lin Feng was stunned. Before he left for Tianzhu, he had asked martial justice for help and used the military's deterrence to force Dragon Killing Island to hand him over. After all, Lin Zhan was under someone else's control. If he used force, Dragon Killing Island might end up in a life-and-death struggle. He did not expect such an answer. "Have you investigated?" Zhou Jingyi frowned. Lin Feng was hesitant. He had asked the Elemental Merchant Alliance to investigate Lin Zhan's disappearance. He was too arrogant. Lin Zhan was like Senior Xiangyu. He was born domineering and talented. However, just like what his mother said, he was too strong. Lin Zhan suppressed his father's hatred and hated Dragon Killing Island more and more. He killed Dragon Killing Island experts again and again. Lin Zhan's shoes would get wet if he walked by the river. Eventually, Lin Zhan was captured. He was captured, not killed. I think the Lord of Dragon Killing Island recognized Lin Zhan. Lin Feng made a clear judgment. Lin Zhan's appearance was similar to his father's. Brother should be on Dragon Killing Island. Lin Feng could not think of any other possibility. Zhou Jingyi said slowly, "After the Battle of Elemental City, the Lord of Dragon Killing Island was killed and the young lord was missing. Dragon Killing Island was in a state of disunity. After that, the Z family of the Lord of Dragon Killing Island and the Ueda family of Dongying stabilized Dragon Killing Island. They contacted Marshal Zimu and surrendered unconditionally. The Z family of Dragon Killing Island returned to the Z family of Yinshang. Dragon Killing Island was officially part of ancient Huaxia." Lin Feng's eyes brightened. What a good move. With the death of the Lord of Dragon Killing Island and the young lord missing, Dragon Killing Island did not even have a Sea King realm expert. Even if the Elemental Merchant Alliance did not seek revenge, it would be annexed by other families. The Z family of Dragon Killing Island returned to the Z family of Yinshang. They surrendered to the military and gained 2 more backers. It seemed like they surrendered unconditionally, but in fact, they were protecting themselves. With the support of the Z family of Yinshang and the military, who would dare to touch them? Brother Ling is no longer of much use to Dragon Killing Island. He should be trying to please you. There's no reason for him to lie to you. Zhou Jingyi frowned. Lin Feng nodded. That being said, he would not do anything just because of what the Dragon Killing Island said. So it was settled at this point. Putting aside his big brother's debt, it was impossible for him to let the sneak attack on Elemental City go unpunished. Thousands of innocent lives in Elemental City were slaughtered by these executioners. Did it think that he wouldn't dare to touch it just because it had surrendered to the Shang dynasty and had the military as its backing? He was too naive. Marshal, please forgive me if I have offended you. Lin Feng made his decision. Zhou Jingyi pondered for a moment. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., the military will hold a memorial ceremony. All the officers will be present to mourn for the powerful warriors who died in the war. May their souls never be extinguished. Have a safe journey to the Yellow Springs. Thank you. Lin Feng nodded. Zhou Jingyi smiled faintly. I should be the one thanking you. Because of you, their sacrifice was worth it. Zhou Jingyi's resolute face flashed with warmth. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He took out 2 completely sealed pure gold boxes and handed them over. I believe Alliance leader Lin Shang will need these 2 things. Consider it a small token of my appreciation for helping Huaxia destroy Tianzhu. Lin Feng reached out to take them. Clap, clap. The 2 pure gold boxes opened at the same time. Lin Feng's eyes lit up with joy. Marshal, this is a generous gift. Lin Feng closed the gold boxes. Zhou Jingyi said calmly, to Huaxia, this is just a decoration. But to me, it's very important. Lin Feng did not stand on ceremony and immediately put away the gold boxes. Thank you for your generous gift, Marshal. Then, I'll leave first. Zhou Jingyi nodded. Go ahead. The true martial emperor is the true martial emperor. Lin Feng is Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled. The more he interacted with the Marshal of Justice, the more he felt that he was powerful. He was not as hard as iron or as hard as a rock. On the contrary, he was like a block of ice. He seemed indestructible, but as long as the temperature was high enough, he could melt into water. Elemental City. With Lin Feng's current status, many people responded to his call. Alliance Master Lin Shang. Not only was he famous in Huaxia, but he was also famous in the world. Lin Feng's feat of killing Polo Sect Master in a 1 vs 2 fight had long been known. The top 10 experts in the world were re-ranked. The boxing king of Guofei City, who was originally ranked 5th, fell to 6th because he was defeated by the Leo Gold Saint again. Lin Feng's ranking rose to 5th. The people were even discussing who was stronger, Lin Feng or the Leo Gold Saint. Brother Lin, I must go this time. Han Fei's scar on his left eye twitched. Have you recovered from your injury? Lin Feng looked at Han Fei. Not yet. Han Fei gritted his teeth. But I can't take it anymore. That day, I saw with my own eyes how those bastards from Dragon Killing Island slaughtered my family. It was like a knife and a sword pierced my heart. Nightmares still surround me. This hatred is irreconcilable. Lin Feng looked at Han Fei. Go and rest for a while more. Brother Lin. Han Fei panicked. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Recover more strength. Tomorrow we can kill more people. Han Fei was stunned. Then, he growled excitedly. Looking at Han Fei's overjoyed look, Lin Feng left. There was no need to mobilize him. The Elemental Commerce Alliance's hatred for Dragon Killing Island was irreconcilable. He had never been a merciful person. He could not be like the true martial emperor and swallow his anger. Since he was young, his elder brother had taught him that the way to deal with those tigers and wolves was not to lower your head and beg for mercy. Instead, you had to be stronger and more ruthless than them. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. A debt of blood must be paid with blood. Lin Feng's eyes flashed coldly as he revealed his murderous intent. The next day, at dusk, the sky was dyed red by the red clouds. Dragon Killing Island was located in the eastern part of Huaxia. The small island in the sea was unrecognizable. 90% of it had sunk. The remaining 10% was scorched. With the Yasukuni Shrine as the center, a floating island was built. Under the painstaking efforts of the Dragon Killing Island Lord, the island was thriving. However, a man's heart was never content. After the battle at Elemental City, Dragon Killing Island suffered a great loss. A large number of savage-level experts died in battle. The worst was that even the Dragon Killing Island Lord was killed. Without a dragon head, dragon-killing island became a pile of loose sand. Fortunately, Great Elder Zi Tsong and the head of the Japanese Xingtian family, Xingtian Gang, acted decisively and turned the crisis into a chance of survival. However, what was meant to come would eventually come. Report. This is bad. The Elemental Commerce Alliance's experts are attacking. Zi Tsong and Xingtian Gang's expressions changed drastically. What they were most worried about had happened. Lin Feng, who had killed the dragon-killing island lord, was here. Quick! Inform the military. Xingtian Gang's face was red as he roared. Zi Tsong immediately turned on his crystal watch and dialed a number. However, he was suddenly stunned. His hands and feet turned cold and his face was extremely pale. It's over. It's the day of sacrifice. All communication devices would be turned off during the sacrifice. Chapter 248. Dragon-Killing Island. The supermagnetic extreme sky net emitted a fiery red color like the rising sun and enveloped the entire dragon-killing island. The semicircular shape was several times larger than Elemental City in terms of area, but in terms of defense alone, it was a bit inferior. It was equipped with particle laser beams and nuclear bombs, but they were inferior to Elemental City in terms of quantity and quality. The supermagnetic extreme sky net was only at level 1. Whoosh! Lin Feng stood on the red lightning in the wind. He looked at the heavily guarded dragon-killing island in the distance with a deep desire in his eyes. He came to save his brother, but even if he didn't, he would still come. For the Elemental Commerce Alliance. For the civilians who died in Elemental City. For revenge. Lin Feng. On Dragon-Killing Island, a person's face was red. It was First Elder Zi Tsong, who had returned to the Yinshang family. Zi Tsong pointed his halberd at Chen Fan angrily. Dragon-Killing Island has surrendered to the military. What are you doing? Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he looked ahead. His thoughts seemed to have returned to Elemental City and the scenes that angered both men and gods. A bloody light flashed in Lin Feng's eyes. I advise you to leave now. Otherwise, it's equivalent to declaring war on the military, the Yinshang family, and the entire Huaxia. Did you hear me? Zi Tsong shouted with a red neck. However, his trembling body exposed the fear in his heart. He looked fierce but was cowardly inside. Swish! Lin Feng's eyes turned cold. As his thoughts returned, his murderous intent gradually spread. Lin Feng, you're committing treason. Zi Tsong shouted and gritted his teeth. Dragon-Killing Island has surrendered. We're citizens of Huaxia. You can't. He opened his mouth. Zi Tsong's eyes were red and he couldn't say anything else. The figure in front of him unleashed a terrifying energy. Spring thunderstorm! Lin Feng jumped up. His murderous intent surged, and he didn't want to waste time talking. The 9 Darkness Thunder Saber activated the power of thunder and lightning. The first spring thunderstorm was as powerful as the one at Qinling Mountain. It went straight for the supermagnetic extreme sky net with the fury of the wind and murderous intent. Fight! There was no need to say anything more. Lin Feng. He used the knife in his hand to express his belief. They would not rest until they fought. Boom! Boom! Rumble! Bang! Bang! Tongues of flame were spat out, and the power of the particle laser beam was fully unleashed. However, it was unable to block Lin Feng and his blade. Stepping on the Shin Kite, his body moved according to his will. The particle laser beam couldn't catch Lin Feng's ghostly shadow at all, and a quarter of the supermagnetic extreme heavenly net was destroyed by Lin Feng's first attack. The second strike, the third strike, his defense was roughly equivalent to the Polo sect leader's defense. If Lin Feng could kill Brahma Hierarch, how could he not be able to break through the defense of the supermagnetic extreme heavenly net? Pa! The supermagnetic extreme heavenly net shattered. Like a tile cracking open, it instantly cracked open from the area in front of it that was struck by the lightning energy. Accompanied by a thunderous rumble that shook the earth, The entire supermagnetic extreme heavenly net instantly split into 4 or 5 pieces. Bang! Bang! Explosions rang out one after another. Nuclear bombs, particle laser beams, and all the defensive weapons were destroyed one by one. The power of elemental technology weapons was at most at the level of a sea king for a combat warrior. They might be able to fight against a less agile destruction-level monster. However, against a legend-level expert like Lin Feng, they were asking for humiliation. Swoosh! The Shen kite pierced through like a sharp arrow. Lin Feng took the lead. Wherever the 9 Serenity Thunder Blade in his hand passed, violent lightning would strike. None of the experts on Dragon Killing Island survived. With the collapse of the defense system, the entire Dragon Killing Island was like a naked lamb. The fighter jets of the Elemental Merchant Alliance fell like a meteor shower. Kill! Kill these bastards! Avenge our brothers and sisters in Elemental City. Their eyes were filled with anger. The experts of the Elemental Merchant Union scowled and glared, their blood boiling with anger. They had been fighting openly and secretly with Dragon Killing Island for decades. All these years, they had been bullied by Dragon Killing Island and had to swallow their anger. Now that the clouds had parted and the moon had risen, how could they not vent their anger to their heart's content? With Lin Feng at the front, the experts of the Elemental Merchant Alliance only felt carefree. They did not need to worry about anything else. No, no. Zi Tsong staggered back. His face was full of fear. You can't kill me. I'm now a member of the Zi family of Yinshang. I. He was a high-level savage wilderness expert and the current ruler of Dragon Killing Island. How majestic he was. However, in front of Lin Feng, he was like an ant. He did not even have the strength to resist. Lin Feng's face was cold. There's something you may not know. Lin Feng suddenly spoke. The 9 Serenity Thunder Blade in his hand released endless power of thunder and lightning. I'm a descendant of the Ji family. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Zi Tsong looked at him in shock. In an instant, he was reduced to ashes. Lin Feng stepped over Zi Tsong's body and stepped onto Dragon Killing Island's land. There was no mercy in his eyes. There was no need to raise an untamed wolf. He could simply kill it. There were some things that the true martial emperor could not bear to do and the justice marshal could not do. Then he would do it. The 5 giants. From now on, there are only 4 giants. An eye for an eye. Every expert of the Elemental Commerce Alliance was in a killing frenzy, especially Han Fei. His parents had died in the hands of Dragon Killing Island. If he did not take revenge, he would not be worthy of being a son. Lin Feng looked for traces of his elder brother and frowned. He did not find anything. Is my elder brother really not on Dragon Killing Island? Lin Feng thought to himself. While he was puzzled, a gust of wind suddenly blew. Han Fei, who was standing on a flying sword, was carrying a short figure in his hand. His face was slightly pale. Bang! There was a muffled groan. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. Xing Tiangang, the leader elected by Dongying. Han Fei spat. Shameless thing. He ran away when he saw that the timing was not right. Fortunately, Brother Lin, you set up an inescapable net and monitored with radar. That's how we caught this bastard. I'll leave it to you, Brother Lin. Murderous intent flashed in Han Fei's eyes and he left with a whoosh. His murderous intent was extremely strong. Lin Feng looked at Han Fei's back and did not stop him. He thought that Han Fei had been suppressing himself for many years. If it were him, he would not be much better off. Right now, venting the pent-up anger in his heart was only beneficial to Han Fei, and there were no disadvantages. Sighing in his heart, Lin Feng looked at Xing Tiangang. The latter's body was trembling and his eyes were filled with fear. I'll ask and you'll answer. Lin Feng's body was as sharp as a blade and his eyes were as sharp as lightning. As long as you lie or hesitate for more than a second, your head will fall to the ground. Xing Tiangang widened his eyes as cold sweat dripped down his back. Is there a treasure vault on Dragon Killing Island? Lin Feng asked. Yes. Xing Tiangang nodded immediately. But only the island owner and the young island owner know the location. No one else has the right to know. Lin Feng nodded. He had a key that came from the owner of Dragon Killing Island. Is it on or off Dragon Killing Island? Lin Feng asked again. Well, Xing Tiangang hesitated. Suddenly, he felt a murderous intent. He said hurriedly, On the island. Where? Lin Feng asked again. I don't know. Xing Tiangang wanted to cry. Are there any other secret locations on Dragon Killing Island? Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Xing Tiangang shook his head and said with trembling lips, I'm not sure. Where is the young island owner, Zikue? Lin Feng's voice grew heavier. Xing Tiangang was dumbfounded. I don't know. In a split second, the 9 Serenity's thunder saber drew an arc and blood splattered everywhere. You don't know anything. What's the point of keeping you? The cold voice rang in his ears. Xing Tiangang opened his mouth and his eyes were filled with unwillingness and sadness. However, his head had already been separated from his body. Lin Feng's figure strode over without any mercy. Chapter 249. He dug 3 feet into the ground. After getting the information he wanted, Lin Feng started to search level by level. The benefits of spiritual force were evident at this moment. Spiritual force could penetrate anything as long as the air could. There was a treasure vault on Dragon Killing Island. However, given the temperament of the island owner, he must have hidden some trump cards. He started to search from the center of Dragon Killing Island. Lin Feng soon found something. Mechanism, underground passage. It's here. Lin Feng stepped on the ground and used his spiritual force to explore. There was no obstruction. The 9 Serenity Thunderblade flashed across the air. In an instant, the passage made of titanium and cobalt alloy cracked, revealing a pitch-black underground passage. It was simple and violent. Lin Feng did not care about anything on Dragon Killing Island. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His heart raced as he slowly walked down. Would Big Brother be here? The passage was long and hidden. Lin Feng walked in step by step, his fists clenched tightly. He was worried about Big Brother's safety, and did not know how he was doing. Although his mother sensed that Big Brother was not dead, he must have been tortured here. It's been more than 2 years. Big Brother, are you okay? Lin Feng bit his lips. The closer he got to the end of the passage, the heavier his steps became. He was afraid. He was afraid of accident. He was afraid of seeing something he did not want to see. However, he had to face it. Lin Feng landed on the ground, and an ancient key appeared in his hand. Plop! Thump! His heartbeat could be heard clearly in the darkness. Lin Feng opened the door. Clang! The heavy sound brought with it a beam of light. Just like the underground passage of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum, the light from the night-luminescent pearls was bright and clear. He saw a spacious secret room. Dozens of priceless night-luminescent pearls hung on the alloy walls. Each pearl was worth at least tens of thousands of gold coins. They were crystal-clear diamonds with sharp edges. It was grand and luxurious. However, these were just decorations. The scattered treasures in the treasury were the real treasures and wealth. 1 billion gold. Lin Feng picked up a shiny crystal storage watch and glanced at another crystal storage watch on a shelf made of pure gold. They were of the same design and were all made of gold. Lin Feng picked up another crystal storage watch. Rare earth elements. Heavy rare earth, erbium. Light rare earth, lanthanum. Lin Feng walked inside. In the deepest part of the room, there were rows of shelves filled with bottles. There were at least tens of thousands of bottles. Liquid spiritual power? Lin Feng walked over curiously and picked up one of the small bottles. It was different from what he got in Elemental City. Looking at it carefully, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. A-type spiritual power fluid. A unique liquid of spiritual power in our country? Even the Elemental Merchant Alliance only had Type A elixir of spiritual power. Why did Dragon Killing Island? Phew, Lin Feng nodded. He immediately understood what was going on, and his gaze shifted to other places. Other than the spirit force fluid, there were also other types of gene fluid. Their effects were dazzling and different. Some were comparable to spiritual fruits and medicinal herbs. Some could improve one's genetic aptitude. Among them, the one that attracted Lin Feng the most was Super Rebirth Gene Fluid. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This was the gene fluid that the little witch doctor said could regenerate a severed arm. It was worth 15 million gold coins. A-grade beryllium core. A-grade tungsten core. A-grade molybdenum core. Lin Feng walked forward. On the shelf beside him, all of them were rare items. A-grade elemental cores could be seen everywhere. For ordinary gene warriors, A-grade elemental cores were already legendary. But here they were very common. As one of the 5 giants, Dragon Killing Island was indeed very rich. But these were just worldly possessions. He was not very interested in these treasures now. To put it simply, the Elemental Commerce Alliance was much richer than Dragon Killing Island. Brother, is it inside? Lin Feng stared at the silver door in front of him. He slowly pushed it open. A treasure vault within a treasure vault. A blurry figure slowly appeared in front of him in the light. Babylon, Tower of Babel. There was a strong smell of blood. Even though 7 days had passed, the smell in the air was still nauseating. In front of the Tower of Babel, a corpse wearing a priest's robe and holding a crown and scepter was lying on the ground. His eyes were wide open as if he had died with a grievance. If anyone saw this, they would be horrified. The great priest. He was ranked 7th in the world. But his true strength was stronger than Polosek's leader. He was an intermediate titled expert. If the great priest had not hidden his strength, he would have been ranked 5th. But the difference was not big. He was still under the control of the country. In the dark night there was silence. It was frightening. At this moment, Pa! The great priest, who had been dead for a long time, suddenly moved his chest. His widened eyes suddenly changed as if he had come back to life. His eyes flashed with disbelief. The great priest seemed to have regained his memory and woke up. Wow! The great priest suddenly stood up. He was dumbfounded. He was still the same person who controlled the invisible power of wind. But there seemed to be another mysterious energy flowing in his body. The great shaman reached out a trembling hand and stroked his forehead. It was as if a deep mark had been imprinted on his forehead, revealing the word demon. Swoosh! The mysterious energy in the great priest's body surged. The great priest's face became ferocious as the demon character on his forehead shone brightly. His benevolent face instantly turned into that of an evil spirit. The great priest screamed, his eyes bared and his teeth cracked. His body suddenly expanded, flowing with powerful energy. Especially his eyes. They went from clear to turbid and then to mournful. It was as if he was possessed by a demon. In the dark night, a 3-meter-tall dark green figure appeared. He was as thin as a skeleton, and his skin and flesh could be seen wriggling around his chest like maggot. He looked extremely ugly. He was wearing a broken vest, and the afterimage of the moonlight fell behind him. The word demon could be vaguely seen floating in the air. Scythe Demon Master. Master. The great priest knelt on one knee. Ha ha! Scythe Demon Master laughed strangely. You should feel honored. There are many demon soldiers with the same strength as you on Nemo planet. Even demon generals are not worthy of being baptized by my demon blood. But you are lucky that I have just arrived here. I need people. Yes, Master. The great priest was very sincere. Under the moonlight, Scythe Demon Master's demon-like face looked even more ferocious and disgusting. But he seemed to be weaker than before. Tell me, where is this place? Why do I feel the aura of the demon race? And these lowly humans? Yes, master. The great priest said slowly and explained in detail. After a while. Earth, so this is the Earth that was recorded in the demon race's ancient books. Sickle Demon Venerable murmured to himself. His expression was one of surprise and surprise. Suddenly, he roared furiously, "Impossible! How can this be Earth? Absolutely impossible! Such a small amount of cosmic energy. It is not even 1/10,000th of Nemo planet." Chapter 250. Lin Feng pushed the door open and walked in. What he saw was a man with short black hair. His upper body was covered with whip marks, as if countless centipedes were crawling on his body. He was tied to a board of nails. His limbs were pierced by nails and his shoulders were pierced by chains. He looked like a bloody man. His breath was vague. It was extremely weak. With his head lowered, his face could not be seen. Lin Feng's face turned pale. "No!" Lin Feng muttered hoarsely, as if thousands of arrows had pierced his heart. Suddenly, Lin Feng's chest rose and fell rapidly. His breathing quickened. No, he's not Big Brother. Although they had not seen each other for 2 years, the man in front of him was shorter than Big Brother, and his body shape was also different. His concern made him confused. Who was he? Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He leaned forward. His face was covered in blood, but he could vaguely see the outline. He seemed familiar. Lin Feng furrowed his brows. He stared at the man's face and carefully analyzed. Suddenly, his brows relaxed and he was shocked. The leader of the Li Merchant Alliance? Lin Feng remembered. He had seen the man's face in the martyr's tomb in the outer city of Elemental City. The martyr's tomb buried the bones of the Elemental Merchant Alliance's loyal martyrs. Most of the people living in the outer city were the descendants of these martyrs. The Li Merchant Alliance leader in front of him was still fresh in his memory because he was one of the 2 Alliance leaders who went missing 5 years ago. He was not dead, but he was not much different from a dead man. He was still breathing. What a despicable dragon-killing island! Lin Feng's face was cold. He had made the right decision. This was an untamed wolf. From the type of spiritual power liquid found outside, he could conclude that there was something fishy going on between Dragon-Killing Island and M Country. Needless to say, they were greedy for the Elemental Merchant Alliance. Even Elemental City was almost destroyed. He looked at the Li Merchant Alliance leader. On his left and right, there was a big board of nails that looked exactly like him. The one on the left was still stained with blood. The cruel and vicious torture instruments were stained with blood, but the person was nowhere to be seen. Most likely, he had already been killed. Lin Feng couldn't describe what he was feeling right now. Although he did not find his big brother, it was better than finding him. If his big brother also suffered such inhumane torture, it was hard to imagine what it would be like. Lin Feng's gaze landed on the Li Merchant Alliance master's body, and he sighed in his heart. He didn't dare to touch him, and immediately dialed his crystal watch. Waiting for rescue. Lin Feng carefully observed his surroundings. In the left corner, there was a garden of heavenly materials and earthly treasures similar to the Elemental City. In the corner that was 100 square meters wide, there were 3 heavenly material grade treasures. In the right corner, there were bookshelves with a large number of Heart Sutra martial arts formulas. Among them, there were 3 sets at the top. First scroll of the 9 Dragons Scripture, second scroll of the 9 Dragons Scripture. Lin Feng's figure flashed and appeared in front of the bookshelf. Taking down the 2 golden books that were exactly the same as the middle volume of the 9 Dragons Scripture, Lin Feng's heart was filled with emotion. His eyes were filled with loneliness and sadness. For the sake of the 2 Heart Sutras, his father lost his life. As the saying goes, treasuring a jade ring gets you into trouble. Sometimes you can't help yourself. As for the dragon-killing island lord, I tried everything, but I still couldn't cultivate it. Lin Feng put away the first and second volumes. The cycle of cause and effect was always unpleasant. returning things to their rightful owners. Lin Feng glanced at the other two places. There were also 2 sets of Super Heaven-grade Heart Sutras. One of them was not the original, but the handwritten Book of the Chaos. After flipping through it casually, he found that there were only the first 7 levels. Lin Feng understood. No wonder the dragon-killing island lord desired the 9 dragons scripture so much. As for the other book, the Sunflower Manual, those who were not determined would not cultivate it. There are more advanced Heart Sutras and martial arts formulas than the Elemental Merchant Alliance. Lin Feng glanced through the books and nodded. As the leader of the Elemental Merchant Alliance, he naturally had to seek benefits for the alliance. Not counting the treasures outside, just the Heart Sutras and martial arts formulas here could make the Elemental Merchant Alliance stronger. The Elemental Merchant Alliance lacked advanced Heart Sutras and martial arts formulas the most. Together with these from the dragon-killing island, although they were still not comparable to the military and the true martial dojo, at least, they were not inferior to the other 3 dojos. In the middle it was a pyramid structure. However, it was not golden in color. Instead, it was red, yellow, blue, and green. It looked like a tetrahedral Rubik's Cube. It was very small, only half the size of a palm. The design was exquisite. Lin Feng took it and placed it in his hand. What a strange Rubik's Cube. Lin Feng studied it carefully. The 4 colors seemed to contain different kinds of energy. Red was the weakest and green was the strongest. He could vaguely sense a strong energy in the Rubik's Cube, but it was like a ferocious beast locked in a cage. Lin Feng fiddled with it curiously for a while but did not gain much. Given the dragon-killing island lord's temperament, what he put here must be very precious. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. This Rubik's Cube is most likely a holy treasure. But I don't know how to use it. Lin Feng did not mind. He had plenty of time to study the Rubik's Cube after he put it in his pocket. Just then, he heard hurried footsteps above him. Lin Feng immediately walked back. No matter what, saving people was more important. It was confirmed that it was the leader of the Li Merchant Guild. The people of the Elemental Merchant Guild were both sad and happy. They were sad because the leader of the Li Merchant Guild had lost all his strength and was on his last breath. They were happy because at least he was not dead. Leader Lin Shang. The medical team of the Elemental Merchant Guild checked carefully and said seriously, "The leader of the Li Merchant Guild's meridians are all broken. His body has withered. After being tortured for a long time, his spirit is on the verge of collapse. He is hanging on by his last breath with his willpower. Even if we can save him, he may not be able to wake up. Even if he can wake up." The medical team leader was in a dilemma. "Save him," Lin Feng said resolutely. "Use all the heavenly materials and earthly treasures." Lin Feng looked at the medical team leader and said seriously, "As long as there is a glimmer of hope, we must save him. Try your best." "Yes, Leader Lin Shang." The medical team leader nodded vigorously, touched. Lin Feng nodded and said no more. After all, he was not a professional. He could leave the matter of saving the leader of the Li Merchant Guild to them. He understood the medical team leader's concerns. Spending a huge amount of money for nothing could only save the leader of the Li Merchant Guild, who had lost all his strength. In business terms, it was a loss. And a big loss. But some things could not be measured with money. In the military. What? Marshal Zimu's expression changed. He was trembling with anger. He had just finished the memorial service when he heard the news that the dragon-killing island had been destroyed. The dragon-killing island had surrendered to him, and the Z clan was under his control. It was like a powerful army that had just been taken over by him. He did not expect that in less than 7 days, it had been destroyed. "Lin Feng, you sinister villain. How dare you abuse your position for personal gain? I will report this to the Justice Marshal. The Z clan of Yin Shang will handle this impartially." Zimu gritted his teeth and his face was as red as a pig's liver. Despicable and shameless villain. Once you succeed, you speak incoherently. Ancient Huaxia belongs to the Z clan, not the G clan. Chapter 251. At the military meeting. The three marshals were seated at the front, followed by the generals, lieutenant generals and major generals. The memorial ceremony is over. We must pay the families of these heroes. Zhou Jingyi's eyes were filled with sadness. We must not let the widows and infants be bullied. We must kill one as a warning to others. Yes, Marshal. The atmosphere in the meeting room was filled with sadness. That's all for now. Do you have anything to add? Zhou Jingyi asked. Marshal, I have something to report. Zimu stood up solemnly. Zhou Jingyi's eyes narrowed. Zhou Jingyi glanced at Zimu. If it's about Alliance leader Lin Shang, don't mention it again. There was an uproar. Zimu was shocked, and his face suddenly revealed an indignant expression. Marshal, why do you say that? Everyone in Huaxia is equal. Lord Jinwu has always set an example and is respected by everyone. Why is Lin Feng an exception? Stop talking, Zhou Jingyi shouted. Zimu was young and hot-blooded. Did I say anything wrong? Lin Feng is very ambitious. He used Huaxia's power and the Elemental Merchant Alliance as a springboard to annex Tianzhu. However, there was no news about him. He doesn't care about the military at all. In just 7 days, Lin Feng had just annexed Tianzhu and then slaughtered Dragon Killing Island. Zimu clenched his fists and said angrily, Dragon Killing Island was in the wrong first. However, they were misled by the island owner. Now, they have turned over to the military and joined the military. However, Lin Feng didn't even ask and slaughtered Dragon Killing Island. Zimu pouted and looked at everyone worriedly. He's so arrogant and ambitious. In time, I'm afraid even Huaxia will be swallowed by him. Do you think Lin Feng bang? Zhou Jingyi slammed the table and stood up, interrupting everyone's discussion. The alloy table was broken into pieces. Zhou Jingyi stood up angrily, his eyes wide open in anger. Even a crow knows how to reciprocate. You are a marshal, yet you treat the human heart like a dog's lungs. What are you trying to do? Without Lin Feng, ancient Huaxia would have been devoured in the Battle of Setting Sun City. You and I would have died in battle, our bones exposed to the wild. Everyone's expression was solemn. Ungrateful. Lan Feipeng snorted coldly. Alliance leader Lin Shang is a hero of ancient Huaxia. Zimu gritted his teeth and said, Who knows if he is a real hero or a fake villain? Maybe he has one thing in front of him and another behind his back to win people's hearts. Maybe he colludes with the ancient Babylon and the high priest. We have all been hypocritically treated by him. Bang! It was a thunderous palm strike. Zhou Jingyi finally made his move. Behind him, an angry dragon roared as he unleashed his 18 dragon subduing palms. Zimu landed heavily on the ground, spitting out blood. His face was pale. It's a waste to talk about heroes. The death penalty. Zhou Jingyi was furious. I refuse to accept this. Zimu's eyes were filled with deep resentment. Zhou Jingyi looked at him coldly and said, Keeping people like you will only disappoint the real heroes. So what if Lin Feng attacked Tianzhu? He is powerful and capable. Dragon Killing Island has always been treacherous. Surrender is just a common tactic of the Dongying people, Zhou Jingyi said firmly. They rely on the protection of the strong and secretly accumulate power. Anyone with a discerning eye can see what Dragon Killing Island is like. The Elemental Commerce Alliance is indeed seeking revenge. So what? Is this world only allowed to be beaten and not to fight back? What kind of logic is that? Zimu clenched his teeth chattering. There's something you might not know. Zhou Jingyi took out Jinwu's token, which caused an uproar. Lin Feng could have taken this token and led the Yinshang family and the Jinwu dojo, but he rejected it without hesitation. Would the ambitious person like you reject it? All the soldiers sighed in their hearts. What kind of person? What kind of thoughts do you have? Zhou Jingyi looked down at Zi Mu coldly. A rat's poop spoils a bowl of soup. People like you will be the next lord of Dragon Killing Island. Not everyone is as benevolent as Lord Jinwu. For example, Chief Lin Shang and… I am Zhou Jingyi. Guards, strip Zi Mu of his military rank and put him on death row. No! Zi Mu's eyes were filled with fear. He screamed at the top of his lungs. Lin Feng did not know about the changes in the military. With the Marshal of Justice around, he was not worried at all. He searched the Dragon Killing Island thoroughly and found nothing suspicious. The underground treasure vault belonged to the Elemental Commerce Alliance. Lin Feng then left with his people. Although Dragon Killing Island still had a base, a defense system, and an ancient relic, but Lin Feng did not want it. The Elemental Commerce Alliance did not want it either. There were many things waiting to be done. Tianzhu was in full swing. After Lin Feng destroyed Dragon Killing Island, he did not do anything else. He returned to Elemental City to reunite with his mother and sister, or to the floating Elemental Island to see Ling. Through the Elemental Commerce Alliance's intelligence network, he kept looking for his brother and patiently waited for Chief Li Shang to wake up. He took some time to return to Sunset City. Lin Feng met his old friends from the Ice Lion Adventure Team. He gave the Super Rebirth Gene fluid to Huguang, who was pleasantly surprised. The captain, Sure, finally woke up. Although he had been asleep for half a year, it was a blessing in disguise. He had activated the Earth Soul. In time, he would become a savage. After returning to Battle College, Yang Li, Tao Jing, and Lin Feng each gave them a class elemental heart. Although their talents were average, it was proven that as long as they had enough cultivation conditions, the lower limit of a Geno warrior was much higher than an ancient warrior. The two of them would become high-level Geno warriors in the future. If they were lucky and broke through 30% mind expanse, they might be able to become a patrol. Only, I wonder where the little magic doctor is now? Lin Feng was a little worried. He had not contacted her for a long time. 5th level of the man-made pyramid. Whoosh! An aura flowed in. His soul essence instantly opened up, and his meridians strengthened. Lin Feng controlled his spirit chi and spirit power. He revealed a smile. After the central hub, the soul essence has reached the 5th stage. The titanium heart had already merged with the soul essence. The stronger the soul essence, the stronger the titanium heart. The stronger the titanium heart, the purer the titanium power, and the stronger the Geno warrior. It was a positive cycle. It's a pity that after so many days, I still haven't reached the 6th level of the 9 Dragons Sutra. Lin Feng felt that it was a pity. Compared to the improvement of his spirit power, he had not only reached the 4th level of the Heartless Manual, but also the 5th level of the 9 Dragons Sutra. However, the 6th level of the 9 Dragons Sutra was still far away. It had to be said that with the help of the true dragon holy power, his spirit power cultivation was much faster. I can't be impatient. Let's go see the Li Merchant Alliance's leader first. Then, I'll go to the Geno Technology Building to cultivate. I'll first master the control of the titanium power. With the help of spirit power, it should be easy. He left the man-made pyramid. Lin Feng returned to the outer city. Just as he reached the intersection between the inner and outer city, he suddenly stopped. The crystal watch vibrated softly. Lin Feng was tempted. He opened the crystal watch's message. Instantly, his eyes lit up. He could not help but reveal a joyful smile. Chapter 252. At Home in Elemental City. Feng, is this the book? Xia Rufeng took out a thick red book and placed it on the table. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It was a statue of Shiva with 3 eyes and 4 arms. There was a slit in the heavenly eye on its forehead. However, its skin color, hairstyle, and demeanor were completely different. Its red skin was like steel that had been calcined. Its shoulder-length hair turned into flames. At a closer look, it was actually a firebird. The most obvious thing was that Shiva's short robe did not cover his chest. There was a blazing flame on his chest. It was the Lai-Tua Upanishad. That's it. Lin Feng was overjoyed. He did not need to look at the book. It was all in Sanskrit and he could not understand it. However, just by looking at the flaming statue of Shiva, he knew which roulette passage it was. This was because the statue of Shiva looked exactly like this at the end of the roulette passage with the power of fire. It was exactly the same. Finally, I found it. Lin Feng smiled. Xia Rufeng smiled bitterly. The European Union wants to sell this book for 1 billion gold coins. They're ripping people off. Lin Feng smiled. That's because they don't know how valuable it is. It's worth 10 billion. Really? Xia Rufeng's eyes widened. Uncle Xia, money is just a worldly possession. Lin Feng waved the Lai-Tua Upanishad in his hand and smiled. This is the key to the sacred relic. There are 7 sacred relics in the world. How many people can actually enter them? The Shiva temple is one of them. As long as we can become stronger, we can earn back all the money we have. Xia Rufeng nodded. That's true. We just need to destroy Dragon Killing Island. Lin Feng could not help but smile. Indeed, after robbing Dragon Killing Island, the Elemental Commerce Alliance's pockets had become much richer. A Lai-Tua Upanishad was nothing. By the way, Uncle Xia, has the leader of the Li Merchant Alliance woken up? Lin Feng asked. His body has stabilized. It's just that his mind is severely damaged and he won't be able to wake up anytime soon. There was deep hatred in Xia Rufeng's eyes. I don't know what the Dragon Killing Island has done to the Li Shang Alliance master. I can't believe a tough man, a Sea King realm expert, was tortured like this. Lin Feng sighed softly. Fortunately, he had arrived in time. With the death of the Lord of Dragon Killing Island and the disappearance of Zikuei, no one could enter the underground treasury. If he had arrived a few days later, the Alliance Master of Li Merchant Alliance would have perished. A bad life is better than a good death. As long as he did not give up, there would always be a chance to recover. Captain Shur had created a miracle of coming back from the dead. Okay, let me know if you have any news, Lin Feng said softly. The death of the Li Merchant Alliance's master was 5 years ago, which meant that he had been imprisoned for 5 years. Big Brother had only been missing for 2 years. If Big Brother had also been imprisoned, the Li Merchant Alliance's master would have known about it. This was the only clue he had now. He bid farewell to the envoy of the Xia Merchant Alliance. Lin Feng stepped onto the Red Lightning. He was heading straight for Tianzhu. With this sacred text, the Lai-Tua Upanishad, I can absorb the power of fire and cultivate fire holy qi. Lin Feng clenched his fist and nodded. Although he couldn't cultivate the true Dragon Saint power, its power was already terrifying, and its improvement in cultivation was even more shocking. It's a pity that Shiva's 8 avatars don't have the power of thunder and lightning, Lin Feng said to himself. For Senior Xiangyu, his thunder and lightning talent was far better than his fire talent. And it was compatible with the 9 Serenity Thunderblade. It's better than nothing. If I can cultivate fire holy qi, it won't be any worse than thunder holy qi. Shiva Temple. One of the 7 sacred relics with the sacred text as the key. He entered it. Now Lin Feng had 6 keys. The Pashupata Sutra and the Meenakshi Sutra from Lord Brahma, the Kapalika Forbidden Map from the Kshatriya Holy Church, the Maitreya Sutra and the Gayata Canon from the Marshal of Justice, and the Lai-Tua Upanishad that he purchased from the European Union at a high price. I only got the flame Shiva statue from the 6th sacred text. Lin Feng walked into the sacred relic passage. I'm not very lucky, but at least, it's not too bad. Lin Feng said softly. He was lucky. There were 2 more sacred texts left, and he wouldn't be able to find them in a short time. The Elemental Merchant Alliance had spent a lot of effort on the Lai-Tua Upanishad alone. At the end of the passage, Lin Feng took out the sacred text and placed it in the perfect space. Suddenly, the sacred text shone brightly, and the door to the sacred relic opened. Lin Feng stepped in. The flame Shiva statue. This is it. Lin Feng's eyes shone. He had absorbed a lot of fire energy from the magma in the Earth's core, and his cells had a lot of power. The absorption speed of the fire energy here was naturally not as fast as the magma in the Earth's core, but he had a foundation, and it was easy to condense fire holy chi. Looking up, Lin Feng looked into the distance. The eyes of the flaming Shiva statue seemed to be looking at him as well. The flaming red skin, the flaming hair formed by tens of thousands of flaming birds, and the flame mark on its chest made his heart beat faster, and he was fascinated. Begin. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged without hesitation. The first level of the 9 Dragons scripture. Lin Feng was not in a hurry, and he carefully tested it. He had absorbed the fire energy from the magma in the Earth's core, so he had experience. If he absorbed too much at once, his body wouldn't be able to withstand it, and he would explode. The 3rd level. The 4th level. The 5th level. 5 dragons circled, and the golden dragon's figure flashed. Lin Feng could easily perform the 5th level of the 9 Dragons scripture here. Lin Feng frowned, and he soon understood. He smiled, and then slowly moved forward along the roulette path. The closer he got to the flame Shiva statue, the stronger the fire energy. He slowly approached. Lin Feng's frown deepened. No! It's completely different. This is different from the fire energy from the magma in the Earth's core. Lin Feng quickly realized that something was wrong. The power of fire that he absorbed from the magma at the Earth core was more dominating, denser, and hotter. Although the power of fire in this place was denser and more concentrated, it was not as good as the power of fire in the magma at the Earth core in every aspect. Just like 2 people of the same age, there was a difference in height. Stupid. Lin Feng burst into laughter. Senior Xiang Yu once mentioned to him that the 9 Serenity Thunder Blade originally had the power of purple thunder, but it became ordinary thunder energy after it was absorbed. Obviously, even if they were of the same type, there were differences in strength. It was the same for thunder and lightning, and the same for fire. In other words, if I want to absorb the fire energy here, I have to start over. Lin Feng thought. The power of fire that he had absorbed before was of no use. Start over. It'll just take a little more time. Lin Feng didn't care. Anyway, this place was different from the magma in the Earth's core. He could stay here as long as he wanted, and it was only a matter of time before he condensed the fire energy. Thinking of this, Lin Feng instantly focused and was about to continue cultivating. Suddenly, he was stunned and opened his eyes. Since I have to start over, why do I still need to focus on the fire energy? Lin Feng couldn't help laughing. He had a total of 6 scriptures, which meant that he could choose to cultivate 6 different types of holy energy. I wonder which one of my qualifications is the best. Chapter 253. He exited the flaming Shiva compass channel. Lin Feng already had a plan. The 6 scriptures gave him more options, so he was not in a hurry to make a decision. He tried them one by one. The first to enter was the Brahma Shiva revered by the Brahma sect. It was also his first time entering the wheel channel of the Shiva temple. He had 3 eyes and 4 arms. He had messy blue-black hair, and his head was decorated with a river and a crescent moon. He was the most traditional Shiva of ancient Tianzhu. Tianzhu was ruled by the Brahma sect. Naturally, they revered the Shiva as the righteous. No. Lin Feng quickly rejected it. There was holy chi here, but it was not normal holy chi. To put it simply, he could not absorb the holy chi here if he cultivated with the ancient martial arts Heart Sutra. I should cultivate the corresponding scripture, Minakshi. Only then can I absorb the holy chi here. Lin Feng remembered that when he fought with the Brahma sect leader, he did not use the spiritual chi of the Heart Sutra. Instead, he used a kind of gang chi to strengthen his body. Lin Feng immediately exited. It would take too long to cultivate the Meenakshi again, and it might not be effective. I failed in the first battle. Lin Feng smiled. The scripture, Othello. Lin Feng was a little absent-minded as the Tao entered. The holy qi in the roulette tunnel had a hint of ethereal charm, and the entire roulette tunnel was like a fantasy wonderland. Lin Feng gritted his teeth, and with a deep roar, his spiritual power spread out. The golden dragon shadow behind him roared, and in an instant, his spiritual altar was clear, and the distortion of the surrounding space returned to normal. So dangerous, Lin Feng said to himself. If he was trapped here, he did not know what would happen. Fortunately, Brother Yi, Brother Han, and the others didn't enter. Lin Feng sighed softly. Even he had almost fallen for the trap, let alone the others. The cultivation place was ownerless. The Shiva temple did not intend to keep it for itself. Tianzhu belonged to the Elemental Merchant Alliance and the entire Huaxia. To become stronger was not to keep a good place for cultivation. It was to work harder than others and cultivate harder. This was the true path of the strong. Legend has it that the Holy Scripture, Pietro, originated from the Shiva nature faction of the previous era. It advocated the Tao of dual cultivation and the Tao of family. Lin Feng looked ahead at the statue of Shiva with eyes filled with love. His eyebrows were dancing with exultation, and in each of his arms was a misty, half-hidden beauty. Lin Feng shook his head. This place was not suitable for him. However, this place is a good place to temper one's willpower and resist illusions. Lin Feng retreated. The scripture, Pada Sutra. Similarly, he had obtained it from the Brahmin sect's patriarch. It was one of the 2 sacred scriptures of the Brahmin sect that had been passed down for 1,000 years. Lin Feng had come into contact with it once. It was the cultivation of Brahmin Manla, who focused on body refinement. Using the body as strength was similar to spiritual qi. As he expected, it was not to cultivate here. Shiva sect holy temple, Lin Feng thought, was for him. The 3 roulette channels were useless and tasteless. After all, he mainly cultivated spiritual qi. Including the purple thunder saber technique, he needed spiritual qi to perform. But it was not useless. It was very beneficial for a Jin warrior like Yi Fan. The cultivation of spiritual qi focused on the body, not on communicating with heaven and earth. Yi Fan's soul of the earth was already at the 5th stage. If he cultivated spiritual qi, he would get twice the result with half the effort. He might be able to obtain holy qi. There are thousands of paths. I can't deny others just because I cultivate the ancient martial heart sutra. Lin Feng slowly exited the roulette channel. In this world, the Jin warriors of China and the golden saints of ancient Greece were not worse than the ancient martial heart sutra. The Brahma sect's 2 cultivation methods are actually very good compensation for the ancient warriors of Huaxia. Lin Feng Sutra thought. In ancient Huaxia, after all, there were very few natural genes. More than 99% of those who cultivated were ancient warriors. But ancient warriors had to face difficulties in the early stages of cultivation. Not all ancient warriors had good aptitudes and different levels of comprehension. They could absorb the energy of heaven and earth at different speeds. There were not many ancient warriors who could cross the threshold. Those who reached the level of ancient warriors, even rarer. The so-called spiritual qi is to use one's will to control one's strength and use one's strength to exert force. Compared to the Heart Sutra, it relies more on oneself. Lin Feng Sutra's eyes lit up. As long as one is willing to endure hardships, as long as one has strong perseverance and fighting spirit, the upper limit of spiritual qi cultivation may not be as high as the Heart Sutra, and the cultivation speed is slow, but it is a solid cultivation path. As long as one has perseverance, at least the lower limit will not be low. The Huaxia people are the people who can endure hardships the most. Excluding the Lai Tuo Upanishad, there were only the last 2 sacred books left. the Gayata Canon and the Forbidden Map of Kapalika. In the previous era, they were the sacred books of the Gayata sect and the Kapalika sect of ancient India. However, as the two sects gradually weakened, the sacred books disappeared. But the real history was that they were seized by the strong people of ancient Huaxia, and the two sacred books were lost to ancient Huaxia. These two sacred books were given to them by the Justice Marshal. As soon as he entered the roulette passage, he felt a gust of wind that covered the sky and the earth, and sand and stones flew everywhere. The sacred book, the Gayata Canon, was obviously the strong power of the wind. Lin Feng made up his mind and immediately cultivated the power of the wind. Level 5 of the 9 Dragons Scripture. Lin Feng was moved. The cultivation speed here was much clearer than in the passage of the flaming roulette. It was obvious that when he entered the passage of the flaming roulette, he only felt a little heat and did not see any flames. But here, he felt a gust of wind. The difference in talent was obvious. I can absorb about 50% to 60% of it. Lin Feng smiled. At the same distance, he could only absorb about 10% in the passage of the flaming roulette. Obviously, his wind talent was 5 to 6 times higher than his fire talent. It's about the same as thunder talent. According to Senior Xiang Yu's words, it's not bad, not bad. Lin Feng was in a good mood. In terms of physical talent, his strongest point was his speed. Especially now that he had activated the heroic spirit, the increase in speed was naturally better. If he could obtain the holy chi of wind, his speed advantage would be limitless. With the purple thunder saber technique, he would be invincible. In an instant, he was inferior to the passage of the flaming roulette. Not to mention the difference in power between the two, just the speed of obtaining the holy chi of wind was more than 5 times faster than the holy chi of fire. Time was very important. The last sacred book, the Kapalika Forbidden Map. Lin Feng tested the roulette passage one by one, not only to find it more accurately, but also to explore the path for the other experts of the Elemental Commerce Alliance and the elite geniuses of ancient Huaxia. Only by eliminating the danger could he let them enter the cultivation room without worry. With the Gayata Grand Ceremony as a foundation, Lin Feng's hopes for the Kapalika Forbidden Map were much lower. It would be good if it succeeded, but it didn't matter if it didn't. Things were often like this. When you were full of hope, a basin of cold water would be poured on you. When you didn't care, a pie would fall from the sky. Moreover, it was a very big pie. As soon as Lin Feng entered the roulette passage, he was shocked. Whoosh! White light flashed.